Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto and Sasuke were in Harry Potter. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by BUBBLEKINS1010 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. James Potter sat in the living room as he watched his son Harry, while his wife Lily made dinner in the kitchen. "Come on Harry, I know you can say it. Say daddy." "Mommy," Harry said cutely. "Say dad I," James repeated. "Mommy." "Oh come on Harry. You're a smart boy, say daddy." "Mommy," he repeated. But this time he was pointing to the doorway. James turned his head as Harry crawled over to Lily. "Lily, you're corrupting him, he won't say daddy," James said. "Kind of like you in sports, he won't watch anything but sports." James smiled with an unapologetic face. Lily sighed, but a smile appeared on her face. "You never change," she picked up Harry as he whined, trying to get her attention. "Alright Harry, let's get you into your chair to eat." She walked off, James standing and following her. "But Lily, he should learn my name too." "Harry, say daddy." "Mommy." "Harry, Lily, that's not fair," he said. "Harry, please say daddy." "Dada," Harry said as though annoyed to the point of just saying it. "How Lily now he calls me Dada," James said triumphantly. But looked around as he found himself alone in the hall. He sighed. "So much for that triumph," James said, his mind drifted to when he was growing up and another triumph fell on deaf ears. Flashback. "Hey come over here James." "Fugaku Ichiha," James' brother yelled. "Alright," James yelled, then walked across the bridge. He was out for a walk with his little brother when suddenly he saw something approaching him and his brother. A kunai flashed to his hand. But he laughed when he saw it was just an owl. "Oops, I'm glad I didn't just throw the kunai." "Why? It's just a bird," Fugaku said coldly. "True, but do you see it? It's so beautiful. It's flying free in the open air. Happy to be alive. It's a part of the world. It breathes the same air. Drinks from the same water and has its own problems and fears. Everything has a reason for living, no matter who or what it is. And sometimes that reason for living is a reason to die for." Then flashback. Fugaku had only been 5 then and him 10. He had no idea that the owl would deliver a letter from Hogwarts. "If only you saw the worth that everyone has in them," James said, sighing sadly. "James, would you come help me?" Lily called. "Coming dear." He called back, shuffling to the kitchen. Lily, what do you think about the worth of others?" James asked as he went to the cabinet to get 2 plates for him and Lily while Harry sat, being fed baby food. I've never really thought about it. What's with asking me so suddenly?" "You know how I had a brother? Well, I've never told you about him. You also know about my past life, but what you haven't pressured me to tell you is why I chose to cut myself away from the Uchiha clan. He cut the link I had to that clan because they were always going around, heads held high. They felt like they were better than everyone else. They couldn't take the pressure, so I left for that last year of school and never went home. Sometimes I regret it. Just a few minutes ago when I was in the hall, I remembered a time when my little brother was still innocent yet." "You don't have to tell me if you don't want to," Lily said. Yet Fugaku, he had absolutely no regard for any life except those of the clan. "Almost tried to kill the owl that was about to deliver my letter for Hogwarts, and when I said I was glad not to have killed it, his response was, 'Why? It's just a bird,'" Fugaku said coldly. He didn't see the world like it was. All he saw was inferior beings all around him. He never learned to experience the world like it should experienced, James said. He sat down at the table. "Even now I regret not taking the time it would have taken to teach him, show him what the world really was supposed to be viewed like. Even now, more than 10 years later, I regret the ignorance I had." Lily nodded in understanding. "I see. Well, I guess I kinda have thought about the worth others, and I think that everyone has a certain trait that gives them an infinite amount of worth. You are honest, though sometimes blunt about things. You're honest about everything I asked. That I think gives you an infinite amount of worth. And Harry, I'm sure, will grow up to have a value that gives him more worth than he already has now. And maybe your brother will find his, too, one day." Maybe one day he will," James said, then looked down to his plate. "What is it? It's my worst enemy." "How, Lily, how can you eat those things?" James yelled, pointing his fork at the carrots on his plate. "Simple. I open my mouth, put the carrot in, and chew," she said, as though talking to a 5-year-old. "I refuse to eat them," James said firmly. "James." "No." "But James." "No." "But James. I have ice cream that you can't have any of until you finish your dinner, including the carrots. And don't even think about putting them in your pocket," Lily said, James flinching at half the words. "I swear, sometimes she reminds me so much of Tsunade," he thought, but either way he stabbed a carrot and shoved it in his mouth, then swallowed without chewing. He just wanted to get this done quickly and eat ice cream. He quickly regretted not chewing when he started coughing. The family of 3 sat on the couch watching the only sport that Lily would join the 2 boys for. Soccer. You know, James, you didn't have to push yourself to tell me about that stuff. James looked at her. But you know, I'm glad you did. Thank you for being so honest. Lily said. She looked at the clock. Suddenly stood and picked up Harry. It is way past your bedtime, little mister. You too, James. Ooh, oh, but. No buts, mister. She said firmly. Alright. James finally agreed. He sat there for a few seconds until there was a bang from the door and a cold breeze washed over him. We've been found. Lily, take Harry. James immediately said. Lily ran up the stairs and into Harry's room. She closed, locked and started to barricade the door. She gasped, hurrying to find more things to put in front of the door, but froze in front of her baby as the door was blown to splinters. She turned around to come face to face with Voldemort. Move aside and I will spare you. He said. No. Lily yelled, standing her ground. Avada Kedavra. Lily stood her ground. Voldemort moved on, but when the curse backfired onto him he disappeared. Harry stood there in his crib crying. But he stopped as he saw a light glow beside him. Being the curious 1-year-old he was, he touched it. But when he attempted to pull his finger away from it, a sort of force wouldn't let go, as though someone was trying to take him somewhere. So instead of trying to get away from it he kept going, barely making it through before the portal disappeared. Fugaku Uchiha was out for an early morning stroll when he heard a baby crying. He listened, trying to find where the sound was coming from. Until he finally located a little baby, crying of hunger and cold. He looked at it for a minute, then finally picked up the child. The baby instantly took a liking to him as he had stopped crying and snuggled the man. I wonder what will happen when Mikoto sees him, Fugaku said to himself. She'll probably feed, snuggle and pretty much adopt the kid. He looked at the baby again, feeling his little face, but instantly pulled his hand back when he noticed those deep green eyes and that black hair, the pale skin and the feeling of strange chakra he had always felt from his brother, stared for a few minutes until hurrying home. He walked in to find Mikoto in the kitchen eating breakfast. He passed right by, went up the stairs, past the half-asleep Itachi, and went into his room, laying the baby on the bed under the blankets and going to find something, leaving the room for a few minutes. When he got back he had Itachi on his heels as the child refused to just mind his own business. Father, what's going on? Itachi asked groggily. I'm trying to find out. Fugaku said as he walked back into the room to find Harry asleep. Who's the baby? Itachi asked. I'm not sure yet. Why don't you go get your mother and have her come up her? Fugaku said, losing patience. Itachi left the room, going down the stairs to get Mikoto. Fugaku set an old dusty box down and opened it. He then went through the contents, finding some pictures. Fugaku, you wanted me? She asked. Yes, you know I had a brother, right? Yay. You met Harry once too, right? Yes. Well, I think this might be Harry, Fugaku said. Mikoto gasped. But why would Harry be here of all places possible? Mikoto asked. I don't know, but perhaps something happened to Lily and James. Either way, I want your opinion on this. Looks just like James when he was a little baby, doesn't he? Perhaps we should ask the Hokage and maybe get blood tests. He would defiantly have Uchiha blood if he was James' son. 3 days later. Fugaku walked into the Hokage's office. Hello, Fugaku. The third Hokage sat in behind his desk, not that you could see him with all the paperwork and stuff. You wanted me? Fugaku asked. Yes, I have a few things to talk about with you. He stood so he could be seen over his stacks of paperwork. Fugaku, first I have some sad news. I sent 2 shinobi to check up on James and Lily. They were both dead. I'm sorry. Fugaku looked down. And what about the child? Fugaku asked. He sighed sadly. He might not have been the most loving brother, but he still did care about James. The child is Harry James Potter. Your nephew. It's your choice if you want to adopt him. Adopt him? I already have a child and he's enough work. Alright, but I'm sure that James will hate you forever if you don't adopt him. I know there was some family on Lily's side, but from what I heard they didn't like anything strange, the third Hokage said, trying to guilt-trip Fugaku into adopting him. Fugaku shifted, feeling guilty. Oh well, I'll just ask dear old Dumbledore to come, I guess, Sarutobi said, getting into one of his drawers and pulling out spare piece of paper. He got a pen and started to write, talking to himself all the way. My dear old friend Dumbledore. I am writing to you because one of my people found dear little Harry Potter. In fact, it was his uncle. His uncle, who is fully aware of who Harry is and whose child he is. But in the end, after my greatest effort, the cold, heartless, annoying, rude, I'm better than everyone else. Alright, fine, I'll take him. Fugaku said. Taking the paper Sarutobi had been writing on and ripping it into shreds. You should probably change his name if you adopt him. There are people that might hurt him out there. Sarutobi said, a satisfied grin on his face. Don't look so satisfied, old man. If I know my brother, and if this kid turns out the same as him, you'll have 3 new stacks of paperwork just from the pranks, Fugaku said menacingly. Then left the Hokage's office. He smirked as he heard a thump. That was Saratobi's head hitting his desk. When Fugaku stormed into his house he walked past his son and wife holding little Harry muttering the foulest insults he knew. Itachi stared on as his father stormed up the stairs and there was a loud snap as he slammed the door. Why is father so angry? He doesn't really like the Hokage, he isn't on the best terms with him. Oh. Was all Itachi said, but a thought popped into his head. Mother, are we keeping Harry? I don't know, I think I'll go ask him. You take Harry. Mikoto said, handing Harry to Itachi and going to talk with Fugaku. 4 years later. Itachi, would you take me to go play at the park today? A 5 3/4-year-old Sasuke asked his older brother. Sasuke, have a mission tomorrow. I might take you later after I'm done with preparation. Fine. Sasuke said moodily. What is you so hyped up to go to the park anyways? Itachi asked. It had only been his millionth time asking. It's a surprise. Yeah, right. Itachi said. How about I show you at the park? Sasuke asked him. Alright. Itachi agreed. Sasuke and Itachi entered the park. Sasuke ran over to a boy with blonde spiky hair. Itachi watched as Sasuke met with him and then dragged him over to Itachi. Itachi, this is Naruto. Naruto, my big brother Itachi. Naruto stood behind Sasuke, a bit timid due to Itachi being so old. He had bad experiences with people so much older than him most of the time. Itachi smiled. Hello. Naruto moved out from behind Sasuke slowly. Don't worry Naruto, you don't have to be shy. Itachi will be willing to accept you. Sasuke assured him. Naruto stepped the rest of the way out from behind Sasuke. Hi, he said quietly after a few minutes of staring. Hello, Naruto. Itachi said, kneeling down to be at the same height as Naruto and Sasuke. So you're the Itachi Sasuke is always talking about, Naruto said looking at him. Might be, depending on what Sasuke has said about me. Itachi said with an amused smile. He's told me you're Naruto started, but his voice stopped as Sasuke's hand clapped itself over his mouth. Tell me, are you the Naruto that the Anbu I work with always go off about during missions? Itachi asked. Yeah, Naruto said. Ha ha ha. I must say I admire you. Not a lot of kids would prank the Anbu, let alone get away with. Itachi said. No, we don't get away with. Itaruka-sensei always catches us right when we think we're safe. We? Me and Sasuke. Hey, I thought you weren't going to tell anyone about that yet. It's nice when you can be halfway across the village and still do the prank. Sasuke protested. Yeah, well, I doubt Itachi will write us out. Naruto argued. You boys realize I'm right here. You won't tell anyone. Naruto pleaded. And especially not father. He would be really mad if he found out about my pranks. Don't worry, I won't write you out, just stop pranking the Anbu every single week. Itachi said. Okay. They both agreed. 6-year-old Sasuke walked into the kitchen to see his father and mother sitting at the table. They had told them they wanted to talk to him. Sasuke's mother, Mikoto, sat there, a neutral mask on her face. Sasuke, we need to talk to you. About what? Sasuke asked. About you. Fugaku said. Sasuke, he sighed, not knowing how best to tell Sasuke. So Mikoto came to his rescue. She stood, walked over to the chair Sasuke had sat in, and kneeled. Sasuke, we don't know how to tell you this, but you're adopted. Sasuke looked at her, his mouth opening and closing. But what do you mean I'm adopted? He suddenly yelled. Fugaku sighed and decided to explain. You see Sasuke, I had a brother James. He was strange. When he was 10 an owl came with a strange letter. It was about some strange school where he could learn to use a strange type of chakra. You see Sasuke, your father's brother, went to this school where he learned to mold this strange chakra. But you see, he fell in love with a young lady called Lily Evans. They got married and they changed their name to Potter. We only met them once or twice after their marriage, but I know once they had a little 10-month-old. They had named him Harry James Potter. Fugaku then took the story up again. You see, they called themselves wizards, and the place they lived in was called the Wizarding World, but there was a sort of civil war almost. A very dark wizard was killing a lot of people. He heard a prophecy of sorts and went after them. They hid, very unlike the James the First knew, of course, but either way they did hide. But in the end the wizard attacked them, Lily and James were killed. Sasuke's mother took the spotlight again. You see, the son that was mentioned lives on. We aren't allowed to tell you how, but a few ninja went to investigate, considering he had been a part of the Uchiha clan. And when they got there they found very high energy levels even days after the attack. She stopped and turned her head towards the doorway. Itachi, if you're going to try and eavesdrop, you really should do it through the floor upstairs. I'm assuming you heard all of it so far? Fugaku asked. Enough to understand the situation is. Not to mention what I remember. Fine, then you may as well sit down and listen, too. Fugaku said. Well, the night of the killing, a baby appeared in the compound. I found the child. I noticed that the child had the same feeling as the other Uchiha, the looks. But I also noticed those deep green eyes that Lily had drawn James to herself with. I knew then that the baby was my brother's son. That child was you, Sasuke. What? I don't get it. I'm really your nephew. Itachi watched as Sasuke looked like running away. Yes, Sasuke. Fugaku said. But even so, his mother smiled. You're still our son. We don't want you to feel that you can't come to us just because you aren't our biological son. We still love you. She said. Naruto, who sat there getting ready to doze after overtraining and staying up until 3 in the morning, and Sasuke, who was ready to write down Naruto's notes, sat down together. It was Sasuke's 7th birthday. Every day at the academy they both were able to remember how exactly they had become friends. Flashback. 5-year-old Sasuke sat, growling, as one of the fangirls snuggled up to him, about 5 other girls, who only became academy students to see him, and all except 2 were dropped out of the academy within the next week, watched them enviously. His growl got louder until it sounded like there was thunder rumbling from the clouds just outside. Minami, as I'm calling her, snuggled up closer as the sound scared her. His growl abruptly stopped. Miss Yamanaka, if you don't get off right now, she jumped at the tone of his voice, running away to the seat she had originally been occupying, right as the door opened to reveal a groggy 5-year-old with spiky blonde hair and bags under his eyes. Sorry I'm late, Iruka-sensei, he said quietly, rubbing his eyes. Scratches adorned his face and arms. Naruto. Iruka whined, everyone laughing at his whining. Of course. He has to be late again. Although it does at least seem it was from training and not pranks. Alright, what's your excuse this time? I was out training and well kinda forgot to go home. Iruka sighed. Yay, fine, take a seat, he said. Naruto walked to the only seat left and sat down right before a greedy fangirl could snatch it. He laid his head down on the desk and went to sleep, not having any idea what seat he had just taken. Naruto woke up to find the boy beside him with 2 pieces of paper. He wrote the same words on each. Then when he saw Naruto's eyes open, shoved it in his face. Here. Sasuke said. Huh? Naruto asked. Take it, it's for you, all of the notes the entire class was supposed to take. Sasuke said. But why would you? By sitting there I was actually able to get things done instead of having some girl clinging to my arm. It's kind of a thank you. Thank you, Naruto said. You're welcome. Do you maybe want to come to get dinner? We can eat ramen. Oh, what am I saying? I would love to eat dinner. I haven't had ramen in a while, Sasuke said. Then flashback. They had struck up a deal that evening when they were having ramen. Sasuke sat by the window. And Naruto sat beside him so he didn't have fangirls snuggling him. They also agreed to train together sometimes. And a friendship was formed. Hey Sasuke. You still up for that activity tonight? Sasuke whispered, grinning evilly as he reached into his pocket to see if the bottle, with contents I shall not name yet since you'll find out next scene, was still there. He grinned even eviler, making everyone who saw it shiver. We get that clan first, then the other people, Naruto whispered, no one able to hear him. Right. They slowly turned their heads towards Iruka. I'm not teaching the art of pranks. I'm teaching you how to be a shinobi one day. Yes, Iruka-sensei, they both chanted. Then pulled out pieces of paper and wrote pranks on them. They giggled as they made plans to get rid of the rest of Sasuke's fan club for good. Except Sakura and Ino. Naruto and Sasuke got ready to put their plan into action. To say that some people were mad, well, we can just say it was the understatement of the century. Inoichi stormed into the Hokage's office. Those brats. Look at what they did. He screamed, turning around, taking off the hat he had been wearing. The Hokage looked at the clan head, his lips twitching while he coughed, trying not to make the Yamanaka clan head even more upset. I see. He said after a large effort not to laugh. But he just couldn't help it. Pink, it makes you look very much like a woman. A vein throbbed in Inoichi's forehead. Did you try washing it out? Yes, I did. Inoichi yelled, then stormed out of the office, making sure to knock some things off the walls as he slammed the door. 4 more unhappy visitors came and yelled at him, and he knew it was just a matter of time before the ones behind it all came yelling down the hall. And soon enough. Let us go. Naruto yelled as he was dragged down the hall. Yay, let us go, Danjit. The Hokage sighed. Here they come. The door opened and he stood to see the two, bound by rope and screaming over his paperwork. Hello again, Naruto, Sasuke said with a sigh. Boys, you've been in here 5 times already this week and it's only Tuesday. Why do you make my stacks of paperwork higher? He asked, sounding like he was on the verge of crying. Because, we wanted to get rid of the rest of Sasuke's fan club, they're really annoying. Naruto answered truthfully. So now we're purposely letting out the part about me being a part of the pranks. We at least hope that their fathers would ban them from trying to marry him. Or maybe even take them out of the academy completely. Well, that's what we hope happens. Why, the Hokage asked, going into a corner that suddenly became darker so he could sulk. Naruto groaned. Hey old man, Sarutobi looked at him. If you're going to sulk in the corner, then can you at least get us out of this rope? No. You make my paperwork stacks higher, therefore you sit there for a while, Sasuke and Naruto sighed. When they finally got out, Sarutobi had finished an entire stack of paperwork and it was dark outside other than the moon. Naruto and Sasuke walked along. They found the place they were supposed to split to each go home and Naruto stopped. Sasuke, will you stay the night? I don't want to be alone tonight, Naruto said. Huh? I don't want to be all alone tonight. So please stay with me. Sasuke smiled. Alright. Thank you. You're welcome. Sasuke said, a smile still on his face. Sasuke lay in Naruto's sleeping bag. He had run home, packed a little bag, run into Itachi's room, told his brother to tell their parents about his sleepover, and run back outside to meet Naruto. Overall, he was tired after all of it. But they enjoyed ramen and a nice little chat about how to get rid of any of the fangirls that the hair dye hadn't gotten rid of. Everyone that had heard them as they cackled evilly shivered. By the time they had decided it was time to call it a night, they had about 5 pages of pranks. Naruto sat up from bed to smell something good cooking. Do I smell home-cooked breakfast? He asked, drooling. Yes, Naruto. My mom taught me how to cook to an extent. Sasuke answered him from the kitchen. It smells so good. Naruto complimented as he took in a whiff. But you do realize I want ramen, right? He felt Sasuke's glare all the way through the wall. Hey, I was kidding. Yay, whatever. We need to hurry and eat, then we've got to get to the academy. Yay, whatever. Naruto said. Don't yay whatever me. Sasuke yelled from the kitchen. Anyways, come eat. Yay, 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 I'm coming. Naruto got his feet on the floor, or rather the sleeping bag on the floor. He stood, instantly regretting it as he swayed back onto the bed. His overtraining always seemed to get to him the second day after the overtraining. But even so, he got up and forced himself over to the table. He sat there dozing slightly. Are you okay? Sasuke asked, rubbing the bags under his eyes. But Naruto didn't hear him, already being asleep. Wake up and eat something. Sasuke yelled, but not even his yelling woke him up, so he ate. Naruto still didn't wake up. Meh, we were up until about 5 in the morning. I bet he only got about an hour of sleep tops, so he packed Naruto's lunch, grabbed their bags and carried Naruto to the academy, collapsing into a seat after putting Naruto down beside him. They both snoozed happily until Iruka shattered their dreams of surpassing a certain brother and eating ramen. I bet no one will figure out who was having which dream. No, not really, it's too obvious. I thought we had gone. Iruka sighed as he heard them snoring away happily once again. I give up. Nudge it away from the ramen. Naruto mumbled. Naruto woke up a few minutes before lunch. Huh? How did I get here? He asked. Sasuke carried you here. I saw it. Sakura said moodily. Naruto looked around and noticed 3 of the 5 girls that had been at the academy were gone. He grinned evilly. By the end of the class, Naruto and Sasuke were both wide awake and they both had about 10 more ideas each to get rid of the last 2 fangirls. The 2 sat down for lunch and Naruto suddenly realized something. Oh no, I didn't pack a lunch or eat breakfast. No, you didn't, but I did. Look in your bag. So Naruto looked through the contents and found the breakfast he hadn't eaten. Wow, thanks. Naruto said gratefully before starting to devour his lunch breakfast. Hey, slow down or you'll just get sick. Sasuke said with practiced wisdom. But Naruto didn't hear him as he happily inhaled on. Then when he was done, smiled at Sasuke as he took the first bite of his lunch. Why is it when I inhale my food once that I get sick, but you do it all the time and you don't feel anything but full? Naruto laughed. I've just had more experience. Yay, whatever, we've got class again in about 5 minutes. Sasuke said, taking another bite. Naruto and Sasuke walked their opposite ways to get to each of their homes. They each sighed as they had decided that it was better not to do any pranks for a while. After getting everyone in the Yamanaka clan with pink hair dye, they were a little scared that the clan head would attempt to kill them if they met him. So they had decided to play it safe. Naruto and Sasuke sat tied together in the Hokage's office for the 3rd time that day. How do you keep getting caught after all these years? Sarutobi asked. And how do you keep from getting buried under papers? Huh, old man? Naruto asked. Why? Why of all the clans did you have to choose the Hyuga clan? Because it's Sasuke's 10th birthday and he felt like going to prank the Hyuga clan. That's why. Naruto said. The Hokage sighed. Only because that Neji kid has been getting on my nerves. Sasuke grumbled, trying to get his hand up to rub his eyes. Naruto had been sleeping over at his house a lot lately. After the first time Naruto had gone over for the night, Fugaku had said get out, but Makoto had pretty much adopted the whiskered boy. Their sleepovers were long nights, as they never really got to sleep until about 5 in the morning, so instead of just sitting there, they put that time to use by training. Making up new pranks and other stuff such as that. All the clan heads by now hated them, except Fugaku, as he had finally grown somewhat attached to Naruto and well, Sasuke was his nephew's son. Sarutobi sighed. He cut the rope and sat at his desk. Go. He said, trying not to have breakdown as he stared at the new stack of miscellaneous paperwork that just suddenly appeared through the door. The two instantly left, hearing the Hokage have breakdown right as they closed the door. Why did I ever take this job back? He asked a poor, random, Anbu that had just gone into his office. Lord Hokage, it's not like I want you to leave or resign, but have you even thought of resigning? The poor Anbu asked, trying to be helpful. Total fail. Yes, I would resign, but then Danzo would most likely take my place. He stared as the Anbu quickly dropped the mission papers off and left as quickly as possible out the window. Sarutobi's face fell into the desk. Maybe if I take a nap, then the paperwork will get to be less, he said, closing his eyes. Naruto laughed so hard as he heard what happened in the Hokage's office that he fell over. Oh my gosh, that was so hilarious. Naruto, Sasuke said, sighing. Let's just get to the academy, we really aren't allowed to miss one more class this month. Fine, spoil sport. Naruto said grumpily as he got up. They rushed to the academy, making it 10 seconds before the class started. Naruto, Sasuke, you're lucky, go sit. Iruka said when they opened the door. They dragged their feet over to their seats and sat down, or well, they treat Ino was already in one of the seats, and so Naruto sat there while Sasuke went to the other side of the room to sit by Kiba, so no sneaky girls could bug him. The next day they were almost late again with an unexpected girl tagging along. Sakura stood and watched as Naruto and Sasuke high-fived in the doorway, then they went to their normal seats, Sakura following them, and for one sitting in the last seat at the end. They had high-fived for 2 reasons. And they had a specific reason, the 3 were all late. Flashback. Naruto and Sasuke walked toward the academy, but they stopped as something flew towards them. The two pinned the poor owl to the nearest wall with more than 5 kunai, but when they saw it was an owl they laughed. Ha! It was only an owl. Naruto said, laughing. He stopped though when he saw Sasuke poking the poor unconscious owl. It has something around its leg, Sasuke said, poking the envelope tied around its leg. He untied it and opened the envelope, then handed one that was addressed to Naruto, and strangely enough he sighed as there was one for Sakura too. Hey Naruto, this one's for Sakura. I hope I don't have to give it to her. But suddenly Sakura hopped down from the wall in front of him. It's for me? She asked, snatching the letter. She opened and read it out loud. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster. Albus Dumbledore. Order of Merlin, First Class, Grand Sork. CHF. Warlock, Supreme Mugwump, International, Conft. Of Wizards. Dear Miss Haruno. We are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September. Await your owl by no later than July 31. Yours sincerely. Minerva McGonagall. Sasuke and Naruto instantly ripped open the envelopes. They blanked out in shock as they read the exact same letter addressed to each of them. What should we do? Sakura asked. The first thing I'm going to do is go see the old man. Naruto said. I'll go with you. Sasuke said. The two started walking away. I think I'll just follow you guys, Sakura said, going after them. The Hokage sat in his office. He sighed looking out the window, but looked down to the ground in shocking horror. He saw Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura, Haruno of all people walking into his tower, then he turned around to face Paperwork stood. What are you up to? He asked. Sasuke sighed and got ready to explain. He took the still unconscious owl out of his backpack. Nothing, we were going to school and this owl came to us with these. He explained. They all held up their Hogwarts letters. I see, so we still have some magical blood in our village, Sarutobi mused. Give me one of those letters. Naruto's hand flew out. The Hokage read it through, a grin creeping onto his face. For Turazansen, he had a chance to send the village pranksters somewhere they could wreak havoc but not cause him more paperwork. 2, though a small amount, there was still a bit of magical blood left. Then his thoughts wandered, wondering where Naruto and Sakura of all children had gotten magic. Hey old man, what's going on? Naruto said. You have all been accepted into a school where you can learn to use a different form of chakra called magic. What? Sakura asked, completely puzzled. Wait, so let me get this straight, Sasuke started. The very school Sasuke's father went to, Naruto continued. Is the school that wants us now? Sasuke and Naruto finished. Yes. I know the headmaster, we are old friends. I have to talk it over with your parents first, but if I get their permission and you want to go then you may. Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, I'm going to have some Anbu find your parents and then we'll talk about this new development. I want you kids to wait outside in the hall. He said. Right as he said it, 3 Anbu entered his office. They sat outside, ears pressed to the door. Makoto, Fugaku, Mibuki, thank you for coming. Now to the point, your children each received one of these, he said, holding up Naruto's letter. Is that what I think it is? Fugaku asked, alarmed. Yes, Fugaku, it is. It's an acceptance letter to Hogwarts. I want to ask you to allow the 3 to go to Hogwarts. I've already decided that Naruto can go if he wishes. The three-parent looked thoughtful. Until finally the silence was broken by Mikoto. After some thought, Fugaku and I have decided Sasuke can go. I too have come to the decision to let them go. Mibuki said. Excellent, I'll just wake up the little messenger owl, he said, pulling out the smelling salts he kept in one of his drawers just in case he fell asleep and someone needed to wake him up. The owl jumped and squawked at the foul smell. Alrighty, need you to take this to Dumbledore please. He said, tying the letter around the owl's leg. Then it flew away. There, I've asked that Dumbledore send someone to take them to get their school things. Now the children are out in the hall if you want to see them, although I want Naruto to come in here. Well, by the time they had talked with their parents, or in Naruto's case the Hokage, they had about 2 minutes to dash to the academy if they wanted to get there and still not get detention. Luckily that day they didn't have to do much until after lunch. No one missed them. Then flashback. And so here they stood, Naruto and Sasuke high-fiving and the three sitting down. Can you tell me why you're late? Haruka asked. We just found out we're going to a different school starting September 1, Naruto said. It's located somewhere called Great Britain, far away from the mobs of girls trying to marry Mule except Sakura, although I doubt that she'll be as much of a fangirl after we get back, Sasuke said. Everyone gaped at them and Haruka's mouth was opening and closing. And the Hokage is going to try and have someone teach us while we're there, that way we don't fall behind on our academy studies. Nice try, but I'm not falling for that joke. But it's true. Naruto said. Fine, if you really insist, then I'll ask Lord Hokage after today. Haruka stood there. Lord Hokage, Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura have informed me that they are going to another school, is it true? Yes, it is, Haruka. They have a special type of chakra, it is rare, but it happens once in a while. The three have what is called magic. It was August 25 and Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto all sat tied together in the third Hokage's office. Tell me again how Miss Haruno got involved with your pranks and why you had to go on a prank spree today. I saw them doing it to the Yamanaka clan once and helped, and then well, I kinda decided it was fun. Sasuke decided to answer the other question. We won't be around to terrorize the village for almost an entire year. And Kiba, Choji, Shino and Shikamaru helped too. I'm going to need longer rope by the time you get back. He pulled out a kunai and threw it, cutting the rope. Oh well, are all of you packed? You know that someone is supposed to be coming to pick you up today. He sat down at his desk. I'm all packed, it's all in a bag at Sasuke's house, Naruto said. All at my house in a bag. Sakura said. Mine is with Naruto's by the front door. I suggest you go get it and say goodbye to people before your escort gets here. Aye, old man. Naruto said, giving the Hokage a hug. After that, the kids started stumble over the paperwork that still kept piling in and got on towards the door. But they stopped as someone opened the door. And an old man that could have rivaled the Hokage in elderly looks stepped into the office. By Saratobi, you really have fallen behind on your paperwork, the old man said. Ah, Dumbledore have with these three around to prank the village. Dumbledore waved something and all of the paperwork moved around, finally hovering in piles before falling onto the ground neat and tidy. Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto, this is Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, you can just call him Dumbledore though. Professor Dumbledore. Oh, and I noticed that someone had set net traps in all of the streets. He would assume it was them. They what? Saratobi asked, growling. We not only set net traps, but we also put itching powder and set it so that our victims get really itchy but couldn't scratch themselves. Sasuke explained. Yay, but I had to make those traps, Naruto said, scratching his neck furiously. Better you than me. Sakura and Sasuke said. Or any of us. Shino said as he entered the office, Kiba, Choji and Shikamaru behind him. We wanted to see you three before you went. Kiba said, Akamaru giving a bark of agreement. Almost a year without the two masterminds for our pranks, what a drag, Shikamaru said. Don't worry, we'll figure out some way to send you prank ideas. Naruto said. Here, I got you guys each some of these. Choji said, holding up 2 bags full of barbec flavored chips and one of ramen. Wow. Thanks. Naruto said. He went forward grabbing the bag as he smiled widely. Getting food from an Akamichi, especially some of their favorite food and in large quantities, was rare. But it means they really care about you. Thanks. Sasuke said as he grabbed his bag of chips. Thank you. Sakura said politely. Me, Shikamaru and Kiba all have something too. Shino said. He held out 3 pouches of practice weapons. Haresu, you can keep practicing your skills. Thanks. Naruto said. Thanks. Sakura said, eagerly snatching it up and opening it. Thank you. Sasuke said, taking his. Here. Kiba said, giving each of them a pouch. They opened it and grinned evilly. Thank you, Kiba, they all said mischievously. But why exactly did you have these? Sasuke asked. My uncle thought it would be funny to give them to me as a prank. He took one sniff and passed out, so go ahead and wreak some havoc. Any idea what they are? If not, then you'll find out soon. Here Shikamaru said, handing out a picture to each of them. It was a picture of all of the 6 pranksters plus Akamaru. Thanks. Naruto said, happily, making sure to hold the picture so it didn't fall. Sasuke and Sakura also thanked him, and the 3 plus Akamaru left the office. Sarutobi sighed. Do I want to know what Kiba gave you? No. Sakura said innocently. But I'll tell you anyway. Stink pellets. She grinned and laughed evilly, Sasuke and Naruto backing away from her in fear. I think she's become eviler than when she was still another fangirl trying to marry you. Naruto said. Miss Haruno, I hate to disrupt that excellent little chat you and your inner self are having, but we really must get your things and go. We need to get the shopping for your school things. How did you know I was talking to myself? You have quite the magical talent. You created another version of yourself, though she is much more destructive and hot-blooded. Is that where she gets the notion to punch you all the time? Sasuke said. What did you say? She yelled. And nothing at all, Sasuke said. Yay, whatever, we should go get our stuff. She said, getting ready to exit through the window like the Hokage hated. But she stopped as Dumbledore grabbed her wrist. You don't need to go on foot. I will take you all the magical way. Grab onto me and don't let go. Dumbledore said. They did as told and gasped or tried as the world turned into a blur of color. When the world stopped spinning, Sakura and Sasuke bent over and threw up. What was that? Sasuke asked, right as he bent over, barfing again. I'm surprised, me Naruto, you are one of the few that can do that the first time and not feel sick. I've felt like this plenty of times the second morning after I overtrain, Naruto said in a no big deal voice. How do you do it? Sakura asked as she finally stood. I make myself alright regardless. He said. He noticed Sakura and Sasuke stand. Great, well, I've got to go say goodbye to my parents and get my bags. Bags? I thought you said bag earlier. Naruto said. Not like you did. Much better, you have 5. Sasuke said. You have 5 too. It's going to be a while. Sasuke, Naruto, while Miss Haruno is getting things done, we should get the 2 of you to your bagsy. Also must meet the one that will be the new fitness class instructor. Fitness class? Yes, I have found many of the students are very weak and could use some work in the fitness category. You 2 will be working on your special skills during that time. Ah, so what's the name of this great and powerful fitness instructor? Naruto asked. Suddenly the door to the house opened and Itachi came out with 5 bags. Naruto and Sasuke couldn't remember being by the door. Earlier walked up to Naruto and Sasuke, jabbing them both in the forehead. Hello kiddos. On Dumbledore, I'm ready to go. Perfect, his bags seem heavy, may I? Itachi put them down and stepped back. Dumbledore put a charm on them to make them move to somewhere. Perfect, how about the other bags? Naruto and Sasuke got their bags and set them in front of Dumbledore. Then he sent them flying off somewhere as well. So where exactly did you send them? Naruto asked. To the port key we are going to be taking to Diagon Alley. And speaking of which, we really should go or else we'll miss the port key. Boys, I want you to go say goodbye. You have about 3 minutes before we have to go. Dumbledore said. They hurried inside the house and by the time the 3 minutes was over, well, Itachi had to grab and pull Naruto and Sasuke out of Mikoto's grip, and Fugaku had been too upset about Hogwarts taking all his children, adopted, not official, biological, or not, away from him. We should go before mother and father decide they don't want to let us go. Itachi said, grabbing a hold of Dumbledore. No matter how much he hated apparition, Sasuke and Naruto also took a hold of him. They landed in front of Sakura's house and found all of their bags were around an old boot and Sakura was waiting for them. Hey. She said. Hi. Naruto, Sasuke, and Itachi said together. I see you have all but one of your bags on you already, right? I need you all to take as many of your bags as possible and touch the old boot. They looked at him weirdly but did as they were told. By the end, Itachi had about 8 bags, while Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura each had 4. Dumbledore had no bags. Well, by the end of the port key, Sasuke vowed never to travel by anything but his own feet or jutsu, so he was happy when they walked into the inn Dumbledore had arranged for them to stay in for the next 6 days. Naruto and Sasuke stared down at the table in disbelief. Somehow Itachi had won at Go Fish 4 times and about to go on 5. They thought he might be using his Sharingan, but they couldn't tell. Naruto, do you have a 5? Itachi asked, trying to get rid of his only card. Yes, Naruto said, handing it over reluctantly. I won. So I get to choose a single thing from each of your packs again, Itachi said. He went over to Naruto's pack and picked out some ramen, seeing how he had gone almost a week without any, and well, Naruto doesn't really like sharing his ramen. Not fair, you were cheating and I know it, Naruto said. Itachi ignored him and moved on to Sasuke's pack. He opened it and eventually decided on chips. By now Naruto was bawling like a baby. So to snap him back, he poked him on the forehead. Naruto instantly stopped. Hey. He sat up and noticed that Sakura had just walked in and was staring at the scene, while Itachi was looking satisfied and Sasuke was being another bystander. "Why was someone crying?" Sakura asked. "Sakura, Itachi took 5 of my ramen bowls." "Itachi, why the heck did you do that, especially when you probably knew Naruto would start being a big baby? And you? Don't cry, I bet that at least one of those bags was stuffed full of ramen." "Actually 3. "What? Where the heck do you keep your clothes and stuff?" "And my other bags wrapped around my photos." Itachi looked at his unofficial second little brother, he noticed again that there was something he was hiding. "Naruto, you were hiding something, you always have. What is it? I've always been able to tell behind the smile there's something being hidden." Naruto looked uncomfortably guilty. "Hardly anyone bothered to try and hide why they hate me so much, no one cared if I found out or not. More than once I've been told right to my face." Itachi paled, but anger was apparent on his features. "I'm going to have to talk to the Hokage about this." I could already tell he'd been hiding the worst, trying not to be a burden. "It makes me so angry," he was told right to his face. And no one cared about his feelings, no one. "Well, I think I might see a father and I can find out about adopting him, he already stays at the house enough." "Sasuke, Sakura out," Itachi ordered. They left, taking glances back. "What was that about, I wonder?" Sakura said. "What, Naruto doesn't tell anyone? Not me or Itachi or any Ane. I've heard him at night muttering things, I've just never pushed him to say what's going on." By the end, when Sakura and Sasuke returned, Naruto had cried himself to sleep on Itachi after he said everything he had never told anyone, everything bad he hadn't bothered to try and tell someone about. And Itachi's blood had boiled the entire time. "Itachi, what did he tell you?" Sasuke asked as he walked in to find Naruto asleep in their brother's lap and that Itachi looked absolutely furious. "I need to talk to Dumbledore tomorrow. Me staying at the castle all school year isn't going to work," he said, a growl in his voice. He got Naruto into his arms, stood and put him on one of the beds. Naruto woke up in a warm bed. He turned and saw that Itachi and Sasuke were also in beds of their own, while Sakura was nowhere to be seen. He figured she had gone back to her room for the night, but what exactly happened last night? "I was talking with Itachi and I guess after a while I fell asleep. Oh well, oh, but wait, what time is it?" Naruto asked himself, but when he found a clock he couldn't read it as it was in a different language. Naruto turned, his hand slamming into the wall. "Huh, what's going on?" Itachi said, sitting up. But when he looked at the clock, he sighed. "It's only 5 in the morning, go back to sleep, Naruto," he said, lying back down and going back to dreaming about. "Wait, eating penguins really, Itachi?" Naruto asked, but the older boy was already out like a light. Naruto lay back down, but jumped when there was a thump on the other side of the room as Sasuke rolled off the bed. "So is that the reason he always sleeps on the floor and everyone else that sleeps in the house always looks so exhausted when he sleeps in an actual bed?" He giggled, being loopy as he had only gotten about 4.5 hours of sleep. "Keep it down, will you?" Itachi asked, having suddenly, "Not really." He walked over, appeared in front of Sasuke, he picked Sasuke up and put him back in bed. "Now I want to go back to my warm bed," Itachi said, walking back to his bed, then he laid down and covered himself up. Itachi woke up to find Dumbledore knocking on the door, Sasuke about to roll out of bed for the 5th time, and Naruto sleeping soundly as he lay sprawled out without any covers. "That was a long night," he said. Sasuke rolled the rest of the way off the bed. Well, Dumbledore moved onto Sakura's door and Naruto sat up faster than Itachi though possible. "Sasuke, next time you sleep on the floor," Itachi said, his eye twitching. "Yay millimeters," Sasuke said drowsily. "And Naruto, you mutter in your sleep too much." "Yay, well, you have weird and frightening dreams. Man-eating penguins, where did that dream come from anyways?" "I went to the land of snow, onsaid penguins, there were freaking enormous," Itachi said right as the annoying knocking on the door began again. "Yay, what is it?" "You need to get up, Miss Haruno, and I will be waiting out here for you," Dumbledore answered from outside. Itachi sighed and stood up. Sasuke finally stood up after getting his head to stop hurting, and Naruto, well, he laid right back down and went back to sleep. In the end, by the time all 3 of them were dressed, they looked like they had been attacked, and incensed they were, as they had gotten upset at each other for the happenings during the night, or in Naruto's case, Itachi literally dragging him off the bed, pouring water on him, and finally pouring ice down his shorts. Naruto wasn't a very happy camper. "So what happened to you guys? You look like you just had a war," Sakura said as they stepped out, hair messed up and frowns on their faces. "Naruto wouldn't get up and Sasuke kept waking me up all night. Itachi has really weird dreams about man-eating penguins. And Sasuke tends to roll out of bed every hour and a half. I have a problem with staying in bed and Itachi likes to dream weirdly," add Naruto, "and I didn't sleep well." "I'm sorry I asked. Can we go now?" Sakura asked. "Come this way," Dumbledore said. "But first I need to cast a language charm on you so you can speak the native language, though you may still retain your Japanese and you will also be able to read our language." Dumbledore said. He cast a spell over them and they tried it out. They walked down the crowded street, Itachi holding his weapon's holster every time someone got near him and/or Naruto and/or Sasuke and/or Sakura. "Alright, first we need to stop at Gringotts," Dumbledore said. "Gringotts?" Naruto asked. "It's the wizard bank, the only wizard's bank, and it's run by goblins," Dumbledore explained. They walked up the steps and there was an engraving in the door that no one but Itachi and Dumbledore could read. Dumbledore took them into the building and went to the desk at the very end of the large hall. "Hello, we are here to withdraw some money from the Potter Vault," Dumbledore said. "And I would also like to go into Vault 713, please." "Mr. Potter's key, please?" the goblin asked. "Of course," Dumbledore said, pulling out a little golden key. "Fine, yes, alright, everything seems to be in order. I will have someone take you to both vaults." Griphook, the goblin yelled, and another came to them. "The Potter safe and Vault 713. The goblin walked the small group following him. Griphook whistled and a cart came down the tracks. Everyone but Sasuke had climbed in. "Sasuke, get in the cart," Itachi ordered. "No," was his simple answer, but too late. Itachi had grabbed him and plopped him in his lap. "I hate wizard travel," Sasuke yelled after they had stopped. "Does it matter?" Naruto asked as Dumbledore handed the key to Griphook. Griphook unlocked the door and when it opened they, meaning Itachi, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, all gasped. There were gold, silver, and bronze coins. "Sasuke, it's all yours," Dumbledore said. "And mine?" "Yes, your parents didn't leave you with nothing, they put plenty of savings aside for you to one day use," Dumbledore explained. Sasuke walked into the room staring. Dumbledore chuckled at his amazement. "Sakura and Naruto, we have a school fund for those that don't have any wizard money. It's down in the next vault we are to visit." "Professor, can't they just use the money from in her?" Sasuke asked. "If you would like to, I see no reason not to if you allow it. It will just make our trip down in the next vault shorter," Dumbledore said. Sasuke grinned as he noticed a few pouches. He had listened into Itachi and Naruto's talk for a few minutes and had decided there and then he would spoil Naruto as much as possible to make up for the times he didn't have anyone. So he made sure to slip a bit more into Naruto's pouch as they sat in the cart whooshing down, down, down until finally they stopped. "When will we be done with that infernal cart?" Sasuke asked. "As soon as I do my business here and we get back up to the entrance," Dumbledore said. He waited while Griphook opened the door and stepped inside. He went to the middle of the room and picked up a little package. Then they left. "Finally," Sasuke yelled, hopping out of the cart as though the thing was cursed. "I hate the way." "Yes, Sasuke, you've made it plenty clear. You hate the way wizards travel. Now shut up," Sakura yelled. Sasuke was about to say something when Sakura gave him a look. Once they were out of Gringotts they walked down the street. Sakura pulled out her Hogwarts letter and pulled out the checklist. "What exactly do we need?" Sasuke asked, noticing the list. She took a breath and started reading. 3 sets of plain work robes, black. 1 plain pointed hat, black, for day wear. 1 pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar. 1 winter cloak, black, silver fastenings. Please note that all students' clothes should carry name tags. Course books. The Standard Book of Spells, Grade 1, by Miranda Goshik. The History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot. Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling. The Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emeric Switch. 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Felita Spore. Magical Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. Dark Forces. A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. Other Equipment. 1 wand. 1 cauldron, pewter standard size 2. 1 set glass or crystal files. 1 telescope. 1 set brass scales. Students may also bring an owl, cat, or toad. Toad, huh? Itachi said, thinking. "What are you thinking about?" Naruto asked. "Getting you a toad, and I know someone that can help us out with it. You remember that time we met Master Jiraiya and he said he might teach me how to summon," Naruto said eagerly. "Perhaps I'll try and find him sometime and you can have a toad to talk to, or perhaps play a prank on the other students." Dumbledore watched in amusement as they planned to prank the entire castle. "I hate to rain on your party, but I think that we should be going now," Dumbledore said. "You will have plenty of time to plan ways of turning my school into a hazard zone later." "Yeah," Itachi said, scratching the back of his head. "Anyways, before anything else we should get you all trunks. It will make it easier for you to take your things as it will hold multiple items and you will only have a single trunk for each of you." "Alright, let's go," Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto all said. "You know, it's a wonder you 3 aren't triplets," Itachi said. They started walking towards the shop they could get their trunks after they had trunks on them, which Itachi called training as he handed his to Naruto, then moved it to each one at a time. Well, by the time they had everything but their robes, you could say they were exhausted. Well, Sasuke and Sakura were, Naruto was still that little bundle of energy. The three 10-year-olds with Itachi and Dumbledore behind them walked into the robe shop and were greeted by a sweet lady. She set them and had their robes fitted, then after that they added them to their trunks and carried them back to the leaky cauldron. By that time Itachi, who does have magic but never attended Hogwarts, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura had burnt down and knocked over the wand shop, and the only one with enough energy to bounce around was Naruto. Dumbledore gave them their Hogwarts Express tickets, telling them he would send someone to get them to the train, and that if Itachi wanted to he would go with Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto on the train. He objected, deciding to go to the castle that day and visit home, using the portkey Dumbledore was going to put in his room. The next 5 days flew right by as they had fun, and Sasuke bought Naruto an ice cream every day to spoil him. The only thing was that Naruto had nightmares that became increasingly worrying to Itachi. Sasuke also noticed it one night when Naruto went to bed early. But before they knew it, Itachi was off to the castle with Dumbledore, to Itachi's dismay, as Sasuke and himself hadn't gotten Naruto to tell them what his dream were about, even though they had a fairly good idea. And Sakura conspiring with them didn't do much more than aggravate the kid, and Professor Snape was accompanying them to the train. By the time they were on the train and in a compartment, well, there are only 3 words they used to describe their feelings towards Snape. "I hate him," Sasuke said, glaring at the compartment wall between Naruto and Sakura. "I agree," Naruto said. "Yeah, he wasn't very nice to us," Sakura said. "And I hate this metal monster," Sasuke yelled as his ears felt like they were going to be bleeding. "I hate this area of the world too, it's too rainy, Konoha almost never gets rain, and those turn out to be gloomy days." "I know," Sakura said, but they both stopped ranting as there was a snore, and when they saw Naruto he was sound asleep. "Well, at least one of us is enjoying the ride." "At least," Sasuke grumbled. But got a fist ready as someone opened the door. He opened his hand when he saw it was just 2 boys. He relaxed a bit. But his hand was still ready to punch. Having so many people around him the last few days had made him paranoid that someone might try and hurt Naruto, and not only that, he knew many men though women weren't strong, and over the last month Sakura had stopped obsessing over him, and he suddenly found himself being a casual friend. It made him happy to have 2 true friends, and with his family too. He was very happy, well, except for the metal monster aka the Hogwarts Express. Sakura and Sasuke were staring at the 2 red-haired boys with interest. "Hello. I'm Fred," Fred said. "And I'm George," George said. "We're the Weasley twins, also known as the ultimate pranksters," they said together. Until one of them pointed out something on Sasuke's forehead. "Wow. It can't be. You must be Harry Potter," one of them said. Sasuke and Sakura couldn't tell. "And what gave you that assumption?" Sasuke asked. "That lightning bolt scar on your forehead. Everyone in the wizarding world knows the name Harry Potter," George said. "I'm not Harry Potter anymore. My name is Sasuke Uchiha," Sasuke said, but they all stopped as Naruto started to mumble in his sleep. Sakura and Sasuke listened carefully. "No, back off. No, leave them alone, back off, you stupid," he mumbled. "Shouldn't we wake him up?" Sakura asked, as Sasuke sat back, a frown on his face. He knew exactly why everyone hated Naruto, and he thought he knew exactly what his friend was dreaming about. He leaned down and slapped one of Naruto's whiskered cheeks. "What's going on?" Naruto yelled, instantly leaping up from his seat. "You were dreaming that dream again," Sasuke answered, his arm falling back beside him. "Oh, that dream, I just had thought there might be something else. I think I'm going to go back to sleep for a while," Naruto said. "Go right ahead," Sakura said. Naruto sat down and was asleep in seconds. "Wait, so you really are used to be Harry Potter?" Fred said slowly, hoping to figure out the Uchiha's cryptic Kinda message. Sasuke sighed. "Correct," he answered, hoping they would just go away if he gave them what they were looking for. Well, he was half right. Twins left after an amazed look to Sasuke, then left, but minutes later another red-headed boy opened the sliding door to the compartment. And once again Sasuke's hand curled but uncurled. May I sit in, Harold? The other compartments are full," the boy said. He looked around at the 3 people already in the compartment, his gaze lingering for a second on Naruto's cheeks. "What's your name?" Sasuke grumbled. "I'm Ron. Ron Weasley," Ron said, extending out a hand. But he pulled it back as neither of the occupants awake made a move to take it. "I don't really care if you sit I here, so it's up to Sakura," Sasuke said, finishing while pointing to Sakura. "Me?" she asked. Sasuke nodded. "Well, I don't mind. Naruto's not going to be up to talk about those prank ideas we wanted to send him, so might as well," she reasoned. Ron sat down. He sat in silence until finally speaking up. "So do you think it's true?" he asked. Fred and George said Harry Potter was on the train. The boy said excitedly. "We never introduced ourselves, did we, Sakura?" Sasuke asked, suddenly trying to avoid the subject of his old life. Sakura shook her head. Well then I'm Sasuke Uchiha, she is my friend Sakura Haruno, and he is my unofficial brother Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke said, motioning to Sakura and Naruto as he introduced them, whether they were sleeping or not. Meanwhile Sakura was debating something in her head. Should I wake Naruto up so he can meet Ron and we can make sure that he doesn't freak out, but Sasuke hasn't made any move to wake him. I won't. If Sasuke finds there's a reason to wake him up, then he can do it. She finally concluded. But she turned and barely caught Sasuke's hand, resist the sensation to ball into a fist and get ready to protect. She saw a girl with bushy brown hair stick her head in. Who are you? I'm Hermione, have any of you seen a toad? A boy has lost his. She said. No. Sasuke said absent-mindedly. No. Ron said. No, but I think Naruto might have seen an a no he might have said something about a toad, Sakura said. She nudged Naruto and his eyes flew open. Hermione took a second to stare at the whiskers. Who, what, when, where, why? He yelled. Sasuke looked at him and noticed he seemed to have gotten really pale when he wasn't looking. It was as though something bad had happened. Naruto, are you okay? Sakura asked. Naruto looked at her as she watched him. I'm fine, he answered a minute later. Hermione looked at them but got ready to repeat her earlier question. I'm Hermione and I was just wondering if you might have seen a toad, someone's lost theirs. She said. No. Yeah, I saw one when we were trying to find a place to sit, but he hopped away before I could see him better. Although I doubt that he was able to leave this part of the train. He said, frowning as he thought back on his dream, or rather nightmare. Thank you. Hermione said. She closed the door and ran off. Naruto sat back down, rubbing the black bags that had developed under his eyes. I think I'm going to go back to sleep, he said, already most of the way asleep. Sakura, Sasuke and Ron all nodded, dumbly amazed by the boy's tiredness. After another intrusion courtesy of Draco Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle. Naruto slept for a good 3 hours. When Sakura had finally nudged Naruto 50 or 60 times, he had sprung to his feet, surprising Ron. After Naruto had finally realized that Ron was there and had introduced himself, and Ron had introduced himself, they hit it off. Ron even had some good prank ideas they planned to use on the castle and or send home. But he stopped finally noticing that Sasuke and Sakura were dressed in what he identified as the robes they had gotten from the clothes shop. He also saw that he was wearing them. When the heck did I get into these? He asked, confused, and Sakura decided to explain. You didn't wake up a little while ago and everyone needed to get ready for when we made it to the end of the ride to the school. So we finally got tired of waking you up, and Sasuke and Ron finally just did it. Don't you remember? Professor Dumbledore said we needed to wear these for anything other than holidays, bed, and Saturdays and Sundays. Sasuke said. Naruto looked dejected for a split second before the dejected look on his face disappeared and he showed a big grin. Thank you. He said. Wipe that grin off your face, it's fake and I would be able to tell it from a mile away. Sasuke said, scowling. Naruto's face dropped and became guilty, as though he was a little kid caught with a hand in the cookie jar. You've been having that dream again, haven't you? Sasuke asked. Naruto looked even guiltier as he took a breath. Ron looked confused. And Sakura looked interested. Sasuke, until you became my friend, I was all alone. Iruka-sensei and Old Man Hokage even noticed I existed. Most people tried to forget I was around. And when they realized it was because I was 3 feet away. But they stepped away, glaring with hateful eyes. So I spent most of my time away from people and trained, but even with it I was still lonely and had almost decided to give up. Naruto paused. Sasuke and Sakura's blood was boiling, and if they were back in the village and looks could kill, everyone they looked at would be dead. But they stopped their raging thoughts as Naruto continued. But you see, Sasuke, when I met you that day and you became my friend, I found a reason not to give up. I found myself a reason to get better. And more importantly, I had someone that cared and had the time to care. And then you introduced me to Itachi and Shikamaru, and Choji became friends with us, and then Kiba and Shino and Sakura. But in my dream he had met everyone else a bit, but no one really knew me. I greeted everyone, but I was avoided just like it used to be. I was alone again. He plopped down onto the seat behind him. That thing had done it. But in the end it all seems so real, and every time it moves forward in time. As though it's another reality, Naruto said. Sasuke and Sakura looked at him, and though they felt like killing a few people, their faces were completely sibling-like until suddenly the train stopped, and unfortunately for them they had stood, and no sooner did the train stop than they let out some extremely foul curses while rubbing the lumps on their heads. Hey, watch your mouths. Itachi said as he suddenly opened the door to the compartment. Itachi? Sasuke asked, still rubbing the lump on his head. You do realize that if mom had heard you too, your mouths would be full of soap. Right? Itachi asked, looking at them, an eyebrow raised. Teal'c style. Oh yay. Sakura and Sasuke instantly stopped. You aren't going to tell her, right? Sasuke asked. No. But I'm sure Naruto will. Oh, and Naruto, I'm glad you told about your dream. It's odd but in a different instance strangely interesting. How? Naruto asked. Because it could very well be something you need to see. Or perhaps another you in another universe. Yay, whatever. Naruto grumbled, figuring Itachi was just joking. Now I need you to come with me. Hagrid and I are to escort all first years to the school. Itachi said. The four stood up. Is Hagrid? Sakura finally asked. He tends to the grounds more than anything and also grows things for certain events, Itachi said. He lead them off the train, getting a few more confused first years and took them to Hagrid. They walked everyone but Itachi, Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto, stumbling and slipping on the damp uneven ground. They went around a bend and saw an enormous castle. Then looked and saw boats. A lot of boats. That's when they figured out exactly how they were getting to the school. They were riding boats. Sasuke was a little more than furious. I hate wizard travel. Sasuke muttered. You know, Sasuke, the school is a lot bigger than we had originally thought it was, and we can go much more widespread with our activities. The three 10-year-olds smiled evilly. Perfect, they said, rubbing their hand together, making everyone within 5 feet back off. Now before you can enter the castle you have to ride in boats. So Sasuke, in. Itachi said, picking his little brother up by his shirt and plopping him into the nearest boat. Once everyone was seated. And Itachi had his legs wrapped around Sasuke. After his multiple attempts to escape, Sasuke had decided he would just swim, but Itachi wouldn't let him. Hagrid taking up a boat all on his own. When they hit a cave they ducked and ended up in a sort of underground harbor that seemed to sit almost right below the school. They went up some stairs and ended up in front of a set of enormous oak doors. I think those doors might just be bigger than the village gates. Naruto said, amazed. I know. Sakura said. She was half tempted to try and measure them, but as Itachi hadn't had time to finish teaching them how to walk up things like that, well, she didn't want to try just yet. Although he had promised to get her a summoning scroll. But that thought sent her mind spiraling another way. She walked a little slower and walked beside him. Itachi. What? Itachi asked. Did you manage to see if that one Sannin would teach Naruto how to summon toads? She asked. Ah yes, I did actually. He should actually be coming on Friday and then staying for 4 or 5 days. He heard Naruto yelp happily up ahead. You planned this, didn't you? Yup. At least Naruto will be in a better mood for the next while. Sakura said. She blushed as everyone looked at the 4 foreigners. After a few minutes they finally turned back to their business as Hagrid knocked on the castle door 3 times. Oh, and what about my scroll? I have it in my room. On Monday when I have my first class, then I'll begin teaching you 3 while everyone else is busy. Itachi had just finished as the large doors opened. He walked to the front. Professor McGonagall, these are all of the first years. Itachi said with a respectful inclination of his head. Hagrid nodded in agreement. Thank you, Hagrid and Professor Uchiha. She said curtly. You should probably go now. You're right. Hagrid said, walking away. Right. Itachi said. He disappeared. To say the shout from the Great Hall was deafening, even from the entrance hall was a complete understatement. Sasuke cursed badly when the awful screeching reached his ears, only to find a red cheek seconds later. We do not speak like that here at Hogwarts. Said McGonagall sternly. Sasuke could almost hear Itachi laughing. Now I want all of you to come this way. She said, walking off to a room to the side of the door to the Great Hall. You will soon be sorted into your houses. The sorting is an important event. I want you all to wait here quietly until I come back. She said, then left. When she came back they followed her. They walked until entering a great big hall where the 4 house tables sat. They walked in and stood in front of a 4-legged stool with a ragged old hat on it. But Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura instantly took fighting stances as the hat started to move and talk. After a brief song that I don't want to write out, McGonagall held a long roll of paper and she stepped forward. Now when I call your name you will come forward and try on the hat, then go to the table of the house that you are sorted into. She said. Then called a girl forward, she was sorted into Hufflepuff, then another Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, Slytherin, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, Gryffindor. Naruto, Sakura. McGonagall called. Sakura walked up calmly. She sat down and slid the hat on her head, but jerked as a voice whispered to her. Yes, a very good mind, but you have loyalty. Oh yes, something very good to have, a kind heart. I think you would be best in Gryffindor. The people of the Gryffindor table cheered. Then once she had seated herself the sorting went on. A Slytherin, Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, it went on for a while until McGonagall's eyes widened at the next name on the list. Otter, Harry. She yelled. Sasuke scowled as whispers broke out. Not to mention he didn't want to answer to his previous name. But after a warning glance from Itachi, the "I'll come down there, pick you up and put that hat on you myself" look, and of course a shove from Naruto, he was out of the group of first years. "I'm not Harry Potter, I'm Sasuke Uchiha," he said, trying to get them to understand. He is not the famous Harry Potter. Therefore, he was not eligible for marriage. "Well, that is not what it says on the paper," McGonagall said. But she looked up as Dumbledore stood. "Perhaps, Professor, the paper is wrong," Dumbledore said. "Not true, Professor Dumbledore. This paper cannot be corrupted and it shows every name of those 10-year-olds that are going to be attending this year," McGonagall objected. "True, but names can be changed and they will appear as the original name on that paper, so please do not aggravate Mr. Uchiha any further by making a big deal about it. Fugaku has some tolerance issues." McGonagall winced a little when Dumbledore had mentioned Fugaku. She had met him once and decided never to meet him again at all costs. The rest of the school stared at the scene. Sasuke scowled. Naruto held his cheeks when he noticed someone looking at them. And Sakura was feeling bad for Sasuke due to the fact that he never wanted to be Harry Potter again and he had shouted it out the window on the train, "I'm not your freaking Harry Potter. I'm Sasuke Uchiha." "Fine, then Mr. Uchiha," McGonagall said. Sasuke walked up and sat on the stool, then once the hat's rim had covered his eyes, he heard a voice in his ear. "I'm smart, a great thirst to prove yourself, a very good Mindy C courage that has thrust and grinded itself into you over time. You have very little fear of things, these ninja are always hard to place, see a heavy and forever loyalty to your leader and free NC no. You'll do best in Gryffindor." Sasuke stood and walked over to the table he assumed to be the Gryffindors due to the loud cheering. There were only 4 more people left. Naruto looked unusually uncomfortable when Sasuke wasn't there with him. Maybe it was the fact that when he didn't have Sasuke, Sakura or Itachi around he got glared at or someone attempted to hurt and or possibly kill him. Not only that, but he had his hands on his cheeks trying to hide the whiskers. 2 more were sorted, one to Gryffindor and the other to Ravenclaw. "Uzumaki Naruto," McGonagall said. Naruto walked up slowly, letting his hands uncover his cheeks, hoping no one would notice the whiskers. Too bad, he heard whispering as he put the hat on. But the sound outside the hat stopped as he closed his eyes and heard 2 voices. Well, if it isn't the runt," the Nine-Tails mused. "Ignore the demon, for you are not him. This is about you, not him," the Sorting Hat's voice said into his ear. Naruto mentally nodded. "Now let's see, yes, you have endured much trial and hardship. Those of your village weren't very nice to you, but even so you have unending loyalty to your home, you also have great ambitions and wish very much to prove yourself, make them see your worth, but your heart is strong and true, your mind has some edge, you can make split-second decisions, though it's definitely not that sharp overall, no, not with such a one-track mind, but you have a lot of potential. In the end you really could belong in Hufflepuff or Gryffindor, but I think you would do best in Gryffindor." Naruto lifted the hat off his head and skipped over to sit by Sasuke. But he found that his brother already had a fan club, sat down sighing. Sasuke, seeing this, finally freed himself of the 2 girls, stood and sat on the side opposite of Naruto. They watched as Ron went up. "Ah. Another Weasley," the hat said, surprised. Fred and George laughed. Then it quieted down to just talk with Ron, only Itachi, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura could hear. "Well, now I know just where to put ya, Gryffindor." Ron stood up and walked over to sit down, he sat right where a greedy 5-minute-long Sasuke Harry fangirl was about to. "Thanks, Ron," Naruto and Sasuke said as the already annoying blonde went to sit back down at her original spot. After one more boy, McGonagall took the hat, stool, and paper away. Dumbledore stood and the hall instantly quieted down. "Welcome to another great year at Hogwarts. Now before we begin our feast I have just a few words. Nitwit. Blubber. Oddment. Tweak," he said, and suddenly the golden platters that had previously been empty were piled with food. Naruto's mouth fell open of its own accord. He drooled. "I've never seen so much food," Naruto said. "It certainly does seem that there's a lot of work going on to put something like this on, but it all seems so calorie-packed. I'm surprised that they aren't all fat," Sasuke said. "Yay, I wish I had hot water, then I could have this," Naruto said, pulling out one of the ramen bowls he had brought. Hot water appeared in front of him, grinned and filled the bowl, then let it cook for a few minutes. Well, he kinda let it cook. You see, the ghosts had decided to pop through the wall at one of those moments. Yeah, he didn't sit back down until they had left. "You know, Naruto, you'll be short forever if you always eat ramen," Sasuke said as Naruto took a bite. "Why?" Naruto asked. Meanwhile everyone near them just listened. "Ramen doesn't have enough vegetables and fruits and protein. Right, and that's why I snatched all of your ramen and you won't be getting any for at least a week," Itachi said, having suddenly appeared behind them. But I spent hours trying to fit as much ramen in those bags as possible," Naruto said. "And I won't eat hardly any of it. I'm going to be ramen deprived as well, and in the end you'll probably clean my wallet out and eat 15 or 16 bowls of ramen at Ichiraku's," Itachi said. Naruto finally left him alone. Itachi left and went back up to the high table. Naruto sighed but stopped as he looked down and saw his plate full and the ramen gone. Sasuke did. "No. BBBB, but my ramen it's gone. He couldn't have just run away on Sakura," he said darkly. He looked a bit down the table and saw Sakura, his bowl of ramen behind her back. "Sakura, you stole my ramen." Sakura looked up, eye twitching as everyone watched. "You stole my ramen." "I did not," she yelled back even though they were 5 feet apart. She got up from her seat walking ahem stomping around the end of the table. "Yes you did. I saw you," he screamed back. "You had my bowl of ramen in your hands." "Yay, well you really shouldn't be eating so much ramen," she yelled punching him on the head and then she stomped back around the table. Up at the high table Dumbledore watched, deciding it best no one interfered due to the rage emanating from Sakura. But his eyes squinted as Sasuke rubbed his forehead. "Do they do that often?" Dumbledore asked Itachi lightly, pulling his eyes away from Sasuke. "About 5 or more times a day. It depends how stupidly Naruto and Sasuke act. Once in a while she even gets me." "Is it anything to worry about?" "No. Trust me, they can get a lot more dangerous and that will mostly be when they're sparring and during training," Itachi said. "Will any other students be in danger?" McGonagall asked. "No. Not as long as they stay well as sane as they are at the moment. At least father decided not to try and overthrow, otherwise Sasuke would more likely than not be an insane, revenge-driven, stuck-up, I hate everyone around me, brat. And Naruto would be alone again. I'm glad that didn't have to happen." Back at the Gryffindor table Naruto was sulking, he didn't even notice Sasuke rub the mysterious scar on his forehead. "My ramen stole my ramen and Itachi stole the rest all of my ramen. Gone never to come back." He stopped being sorry for himself when Sasuke finally shoved a spoon of mashed potatoes in his mouth. He swallowed, quickly having to take a drink of his juice. But Sasuke sighed as he went back to sulking. He had to stop again as Sasuke shoved more food into his mouth. This time it was chicken. "Now finish the food on your plate," he said. Naruto nodded and started to eat on his own, forgetting about his stolen ramen. Naruto, what are those lines on your cheeks? They look like whiskers," Ron said. Naruto swallowed. I think they're a kind of birthmark or something," he said. He actually knew exactly what they were. He knew they were from the stupid fox's influence. Ron backed off of the subject due to how uncomfortable Naruto seemed to have gotten. And once Naruto had forgotten about his ramen and the whisker question and eaten dinner, there was dessert, of which he only had a little of, and that was mostly the ice cream. "Naruto, I don't like that Quirrell guy," Sasuke said. "I noticed him too. He looks too suspicious to just be a normal teacher, and that stutter I heard him use is totally fake," Naruto answered. Itachi watched as he listened, picking up every word and working it all into his suspicions. And Sakura joined the conversation. "That turban is hiding something. Maybe it seems like it." Sasuke stopped as Naruto shivered. "That Professor Trelawney, I think her name is, she's staring at me and it's creeping me out," Naruto said. "Perhaps she sees something in you," Sasuke said. "Like what?" "We don't know," Sakura said. Once the deserts disappeared, Dumbledore stood up. "Now that we have all been fed and watered, I have a few announcements I would like to make. First of all, I would like to ask the first years to note that the forest on the school grounds is forbidden. A few of the older students would probably do well to remember that as well," he said, his eyes drifting to Fred and George. "Mr. Filch has also asked me to remind you that magic is not allowed outside of classes. Also to be noted, Quidditch trials are to be held in the second week of term. If anyone is interested in playing for their house team, please contact Madam Hooch. Also note that there will be a self-defense class open to all students from 1st to 7th years, taught by Professor Uchiha this year. If you want to go to it, then go to the entrance hall at the time that will be on your sheet of classes. I believe it would be good to get you all more physically fit. And finally, I would like to tell you that this year that the 3rd floor corridor on the right-hand side is out of bounds to everyone that does not want to die a very painful death." Itachi made it a point to look at Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura as he knew they would find very little fear about that last warning. They got the message, and now before we go to bed I think we should sing the school song. Pick your favorite tune. He raised his wand and words slithered out in gold. And they all began to sing. Well, almost all of them. Itachi wasn't that prepared, and the last time he'd had to sing I'd rather not go into that. All I'll say is that Naruto and Sasuke got enough blackmail from that single minute to last them the rest of their lives, and of course Itachi's. Yay, well, after they had sung the song they headed off to bed, getting attacked by sticks someone was throwing, aka Peeves, with the remainders finally falling on Naruto's head. Once they made it to the Gryffindor common room, they were directed to their rooms. Naruto, Neville, Sasuke, Ron, Dean Thomas and Seamus Finnegan all found the room they would be sharing. "Ugh, I am so tired," Naruto said as he moved to lie down on his bed and was out cold before his head even hit the pillow. Sasuke covered him because he knew Naruto would freeze in the colder climate before he woke up to get his blankets. He then went to his bed, laid down and went to sleep. He woke up in the middle of the night to a weird dream, but after a cold drink of water he went back to sleep. Naruto woke up around 2 in the morning as Sasuke rolled out of bed muttering, and finally Naruto knew why Sasuke had a hard time staying in bed. He always dreamed about sleeping in the open where there was an unlimited amount of room to roll in for naps, move as he surpassing a certain older brother. He sat there barely hanging on to his dream. He thought about the beginning and it got to be clearer as he went. By the end of it he was puzzled. This wasn't just a normal nightmare. This was completely different. Flashback into Naruto's dream. He was walking down a long hall, not stopping until he came to the end. He turned to the right and went into another hall. Once again he was walking, not stopping until walking into a large room with amazingly high ceilings. And in front of him were metal bars. He stood there watching every little thing until suddenly 2 red eyes appeared in the previously dark cage, then a very toothy mouth showed up under them. "Well, Brad, you have finally found this place. How nice it would be to eat you, but this accursed gate confides me." The Nine-Tails growled. His claws suddenly trying to get him. Naruto stood his ground 4-5 feet away. "Look, you dang fox, you're in my body and you owe me rent. So for payment I'll just be taking your chakra. Got that? Well, I supposed I'm not able to kill you, am I? Since if you die I die," he said, chakra moving between the bars of the cage and wrapping around Naruto. Then flashback into Naruto's dream. Then it just cuts off. Naruto whispered to himself, annoyed. He noticed Sasuke stir on the floor. Obviously the floor at Hogwarts was colder than the floors back in Konoha. That was especially true due to the fact that it was about 30 degrees cooler and it was raining. He had a feeling that him, Itachi, Sakura and Sasuke would have chattering teeth as they shivered all winter and be wrapped up in several layers of clothing. Either way he laid back down and went back to sleep. When Naruto woke up again he got dressed in him. Sasuke and Ron hurried along the corridors, whispers following them the entire time. Sasuke, Harry, Ron and Naruto had become good friends by the end of the first day. They stuck together only about a fourth of the time they can. The rest of that time was spent by each of them memorizing a different part of the castle. Sasuke spent an entire hour a day watching the stairs from above. Naruto spent most lunches and half of his dinners walking around the hallways memorizing them and what room were on each hallway. He made it through the entire castle, even the dungeons. He even managed to find the Slytherin coming room. While Rom spent his free time memorizing all the trick steps. The walls disguising themselves as doors. The doors you had to politely ask to be allowed through. And also memorizing the secret passageways that Filch and Mrs. Norris took and where they went. He also made sure to kick the cat whenever it was around, then run away. Naruto and Sasuke had developed the same habit. By the end of the week it was easy to find their classes. Sasuke warned them when a stair would be moving, what detour it would force them to take and what floor they would end up on. Ron kept them out of the trick steps and lead them through the nearest secret passage to the floor Naruto told him. And Naruto got them to the classrooms. Overall it worked out well. By Thursday they were almost to the point of being efficient. Well, if they all managed to get up at the right time. Sasuke was working on it. Sasuke sat at a table with Naruto and Itachi. It was Tuesday and they were writing home each with their own letter. Itachi had bought them a snowy owl for them to use for letters home. Somehow owls could get to Konoha from Hogwarts, but humans couldn't figure out any way other than Port Kisan. Sakura had given them her letter for home and the 4 letters were attached. They sent the owl, of which they had named Tsunade due to her attitude, off. The owl is Hedwig. Well, by Friday, they had gone to astronomy, herbology, history of magic, charms, transfiguration, and defense against the dark arts. But classes weren't the only highlight of the first week. Another highlight was the first morning when the owls came in and Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura and Itachi had gotten kunai and or shuriken in their hands before they had thought about it. The other teachers weren't very happy with Itachi and they weren't happy with the kids either. Well, now it was time for double potions with the Slytherins and sadly that included Malfoy. By the end Gryffindor was 50 points down for no good reason. Slytherin was 50 points up for no good reason. Neville had exploded his potion and melted his cauldron. Naruto had yelled at the teacher. Ron's face had disappeared and blended into his hair. Sasuke had a massive headache. Oh, and Sasuke had been compared to the father he didn't know he had until about 3 years, aggoing their haste to get to walking and or watching the castle to memorize it. They all ended up finding all the things they didn't want to the hard way. Such as Naruto sinking halfway through a trick step, but they all stopped halfway up the stairs as Sasuke double-checked his list of classes and found they had forgotten a class. Sasuke swore quietly, why the heck did Itachi have to change his class to Friday? We forgot Itachi's class. He yelled, then jumping the trick step behind him he ran down the stairs grabbing Sakura, who he just happened to see on his way, and hurried to the entrance hall. Naruto and Ron, who had agreed to try the class, behind him. Itachi stood there as everyone stared while he mused, waiting for his younger siblings. They're late for Iruka's classes, why should my class be any different? I'm only their superior and Sasuke's older brother and pretty much the older brother of Naruto and Sakura as well. Should I be any different than other teachers? He asked himself right as McGonagall was passing. In fact, they were early to my class, she said. He sighed as the three, along with Ron, showed up. He had a total of 80 kids in front of him, they were from all houses and years. You're late. He growled. We couldn't start until you got here because half the reason I'm here is for you three. Sorry, Itachi, Sakura, Naruto and Sasuke mused with practiced unison. Sorry, Ron said. Oh well, follow me, he said, sighing. They walked out the sloped grounds and down to the Quidditch pitch. They entered and went inside. Now from what I can tell, most of you don't get a lot of exercise, so I'll start you off with 5 laps around the pitch. Everyone groaned. Go now or I make it 10. Everyone began. But Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto stayed, knowing Itachi must have had something more challenging for them. Alright, so from what Iruka said, you had just finished learning to channel chakra to certain Eri, so I think I'll have you start with that training I had already promised back home. You mean channeling chakra to our feet so we can walk up things? Naruto asked excitedly as the Weasley twins finished their first lap. They have to run from Filch a lot. Yes, no, to do this you have to have enough chakra control at CO, I know. He said, pulling out 3 kunai. Now I want you to all try it. Walk up the inside wall of the Quidditch pitch and every time when you think you're going to fall, I want you to use these kunai to make a mark. Keep trying to get higher. I expect to see at least 10 feet before the others are done running. Right. They said, then went over to the wall and started trying to climb it. They sighed as the stairs they got made them lose concentration and fall. Of course it didn't help that Itachi didn't do anything about the problem. Because he thought it would be good for them that way, because you won't be able to fully focus on it during battle. But over time they got to ignore it and in due time they made it fairly high. Though Sakura was the first to make it to the top. But what really pissed Naruto and Sasuke off was that she had done it 5th try. Few of the other kids that had already finished their 5 laps panted as they watched him and Sasuke walk and fall over and over. They also noticed Sakura walking back down. Soon everyone was done and Itachi called them back over to him but froze as someone dropped to the ground behind him. He had a kunai out but lowered it when he saw the great toad sage Jiraiya. Irlite had to set them on another exercise. He said irritably. Sorry, I found a nice spot to door research. He said, obviously having gotten the language charm placed on him. Yes, spying on girls is one of your research projects, isn't it? You old pervert. Itachi said. Hey. Is that any way to talk to someone that could kick your butt? Yeah, whatever. Your temporary students are over there. And here are Sasuke and Sakura's scrolls. Remember, Sakura's is green, Sasuke's is gray, don't mix them up. He said, completely ignoring the puzzled students watching. Itachi tossed the 2 different sized scrolls. Hey, isn't this one supposed to? I swiped it from her when her attendant was trying to keep her away from the sake. It wasn't that hard. I see, Jiraiya said. He then went over to the 3 that were practicing. Hey kiddies, you're coming with me. He said, then exited the pitch. After a nod from Itachi they went after him. Itachi now was able to turn his full attention on the other 77 students in front of him. Alright, I want at least 10 push-ups from all of you. What are push-ups? A first-year girl asked innocently. Itachi sighed. Dumbledore really needed to have had something like this sooner. Alright, I'm going to be teaching you to summon. Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto, I have these summon contracts that you need to sign. He said, giving each of them their scrolls. Sasuke and Sakura switching as Jiraiya had mixed the scrolls up, he gave Naruto the scroll behind him. Alright, I want you to open them. He said. The 3 opened them. Which animals will we be getting? Sakura asked. Sakura, you will be getting slugs for a very easy to spot reason. Sasuke, you will be getting hawks. And Naruto, you will be summoning toads. Itachi decided on the ones that reminded himself of you 3 and other summoners he knows of now. You will bite your thumb and write your name on the contract in your blood. They did as told. After that was done, Jiraiya took back the scrolls. Now the contracts you just signed are the only contracts you will ever sign. So make sure to become fiends with your summons so they can be more efficient and less likely to trample and or squish you in battle. The kid's sweat dropped. Speaking from experience? Sakura asked. More or less, Jiraiya said, a sheepish grin on his face. Even so, you should start practicing. Right. They said. But what do we do to practice? Sasuke asked. You try and summon, of course. Jiraiya said. He did a few hand signs, bit his thumb and thrust his hand onto the ground. Summoning jutsu. A small yellow toad appeared in front of him. What? Gamatsu. How the heck did I summon you? Oh hi. Gamatsu said in a high-pitched voice. Ah. He screamed. Itachi went up to the top of the Quidditch pitch and checked on them after hearing the great and powerful Toad Sage whining and screaming like a girl. I wanted Gamakichi, he whined, sulking in the little shadow near them. You hate me, don't you? You don't like to summon me, Gamatatsu whined, dejectedly hopping into another shadow to sulk. Sasuke looked on board. Sakura looked about to kill Jiraiya. And Naruto was just plain confused. I don't get it, what's so wrong about summoning the little guy? Naruto asked. What do you think would have happened if I had been in a battle and summoned him? Jiraiya asked. Sasuke sighed. Does the little guy look fit for a battle? Well, not really, but I bet he can still do something. Naruto said. The little yellow toad looked up at him happily. You really think so? Gamatatsu asked. Sure, what can you do? I'm still learning how to do things. Well, I bet once you finish you'll be able to do amazing things. Naruto said, striking the nice guy pose. Gamatatsu disappeared in a cloud of smoke after flashing Naruto a great big toady grin. Well, you probably should start practicing, Jiraiya said after recovering from his failure at summoning at least Gamakichi. Sasuke, Naruto and Sakura got to practicing. Naruto ended up with a bunch of tadpoles appearing. By the time he got to the point of what was probably the smallest fully grown toad any of them had ever seen, they figured that the tadpoles had been too afraid to come back. Sasuke got a bunch of eggs, of which some hawks will peck him for later. And Sakura screamed when a slug freaked her out by going up her leg. Luckily it had just surprised her and she wasn't afraid of slugs. Itachi had been pointing out mistakes everyone made. But when he heard Jiraiya scream, nonetheless like a girl, he had to, considering he was an overprotective brother, check on the kids. He made a clone and switched with it, then went to the top of the pitch and found that Jiraiya seemed to have summoned a toad he hadn't wanted to. And knowing how much of a show-off the Hokage had warned him to be, he figured that the perverted old man had wanted to summon something bigger. His eye twitched. Yes, from the look on his face he definitely wanted to summon something bigger, Itachi said. He then switched back with his clone, and once everyone had managed to do 10 push-ups they were on the ground, sweaty, tired and panting. He could tell just from hearing them, they were way out of shape. Well, that was about to change. It was 4 in the afternoon, and Itachi was walking out of the Quidditch pitch with the other kids behind him. He led them to the castle, leaving Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura to train with a sleeping Jiraiya, just waiting to be squished when one of them managed something bigger like a boss or something. Knowing Naruto, he would be summoning the boss toad within the next week. But he had other things to worry about. Like maybe helping his father with all the adoption paperwork that had to be read over and eventually signed. Naruto was in for a big surprise when the next holiday came around and they got to go home for a while. He would finally have a real family. He would have real official siblings. A real and official mother and father. The Hokage was totally up to the idea when Itachi and Fugaku discussed it with him. The old man had seen what had happened to the Tsunade in Jinchuriki and he wasn't going to let Naruto be alone in the end. So he pleasantly handed over the stacks upon more stacks of paperwork to Itachi and Fugaku, and 3 Chunin. Fugaku wasn't happy about the paperwork. But he had grown attached to Naruto and so he persevered and hoped to be able to get him a part of the family by the end of December. But being buried under paperwork that had before been manageable, he was still clan head and had to deal with some papers, had put him in a fairly foul mood. Itachi had just gotten back from Konoha. After training the kids and doing a good half stack of paperwork, he was tired. He was going to go to bed but decided to stretch his legs and take a stroll. He walked back out to the school grounds to find Naruto still practicing. Naruto, you should stop and come in for the night, Itachi said. In a few minutes. In a few minutes it will be past 2 in the morning. Itachi deadpanned. Is it that late already? Naruto asked. Did you even have dinner? No. You do realize that if someone else had caught you out here, say Professor McGonagall, you would be in big trouble, right? Itachi asked. So I lost track of time. Does it matter? Yes it does, because first of all things in the forest could have attacked and possibly killed you. It's dark and late, or I guess it's early, you skipped out on dinner, and if anything happens to you, I'll bring you back from the dead, kill you again for getting killed, and bring you back again. Alright, I get the point. You don't want me out here at night. I'll be back to the school in about 3 minutes. But I've been practicing. Look. He said, picking up a toad about the size of his hand. That's impressive, Itachi said, looking at the toad, eyebrow raised, until it disappeared. He right outside the entrance hall and waited for Naruto go get back to the castle. Naruto wouldn't have moved an inch otherwise. And the kid refused to go back to the castle until he had done a few more practice summons. He sat down after 3 minutes and fell asleep almost instantly, and Naruto, after about 2 more hours flying by, he collapsed of exhaustion. Naruto woke up to Sasuke pouring a bucket of ice water down his muddy pants. I was wrong that night when I thought you would freeze in the cooler climate. You obviously won't, he said, emptying the pitcher the rest of the way. Naruto jumped up after he'd had a minute for the fact that he was freezing cold sink in. Cruel and unusual alarm clock. He squealed, running into the castle to take a hot shower. He didn't even notice Sakura poking Itachi, trying to wake him up. "Well, Naruto is awake, I see," Sakura said. "Ice water, it's the best alarm clock ever," Sasuke said, grinning. "Itachi Uchiha!" Sakura yelled, punching Itachi's arm. Itachi jumped from the ground, rubbing his arm. "Sakura, why did you do that?" he asked. "You were sleeping outside the entrance hallway?" Sasuke asked. "Well, I was helping father for a while, and when I got back it was somewhere around 2 in the morning, went for a quick walk and found Naruto still practicing. So I eventually decided to wait outside, sat down, and well, I guess I fell asleep," he explained, hearing Naruto screaming somewhere in the castle. "Cold." Itachi sighed as Naruto screamed. "Who woke him up using ice water?" Itachi asked. "I did," Sasuke answered. Itachi's eye twitched at his brother as snow started to fall. Sasuke got ready to run. Itachi might have been older, more mature, and even an Anbu. But when it came to Sasuke, Itachi chased him around and paid back the deed. The end of their game of tag, Sasuke was soaked in icy water and Sakura was yelling at him, and Naruto had showed up scowling. By the time McGonagall had found, caught, and reprimanded them, breakfast was over and Naruto's stomach sounded like an earthquake. "Naruto, where are we going?" Sasuke asked. "Just trust me," Naruto said as they stopped in front of a picture with fruit. "I bet you know where they're going now." "Naruto?" Itachi asked as his brother tickled the pair in the picture. The pair laughed and the picture swung out of the way. Naruto went through the opening smiling. Itachi, Sakura, and Sasuke looked at each other, but they shrugged and went through after Naruto. They went through and found that it seemed Naruto had planned to show up in the place at this time, as he was meeting with a set of identical twins. They knew from their reputation, their names Fred and George Weasley. They were known to be the biggest pranksters of the school at the moment. "Hello, Gret and Forge," Naruto said cheerfully. "Hello, Naruto," they answered together. "So our little prodigy," Fred started. Itachi looked at them, a little jealous already. "Who exactly are they?" George finished, as both of them pointed to Itachi, Sakura, and Sasuke. "We know the professor," Fred said. "But we don't know the kiddos," George said. Naruto smiled as he walked back a few steps. "This is Sasuke," he said, pointing to Sasuke. "And this is Sakura." "Sakura, Itachi, Sasuke, this is Fred and George." "Yeah, I know, because of them it's raining in my room now. Why are we here?" Itachi asked. "First of all, to make up for missed meals. Second, to assist Gret and Forge in a prank." "The meal I'm fine with, but the prank I want no part of," Itachi said. "If you help us we won't prank you at all until after the Christmas holidays. That's over 4 months. You don't have to worry about finding yourself in a tundra. Make it the rest of the time we are all in the castle. The rest of the school year." Itachi said. "I'm always up for a prank, I guess," Sasuke said. "I'll help you out," Sakura said. "What are we even doing?" Itachi asked. "We'll talk about it during dinner." "Dinner?" Sasuke asked. "Dinner and breakfast, of course." "You didn't have dinner or breakfast." Everyone but Itachi yelled. "Well, yeah, I was training," Naruto said innocently. Sakura sighed. "Overdoing it isn't going to do anything good. I just forgot it was so late is all." "Exactly how late was it?" Sakura asked. "Itachi found me outside somewhere around 2 in the morning and then I finally fell asleep." "You mean collapsed?" Itachi said dryly. "Somewhere around dawn. Maybe." "Naruto, you should get a good amount of sleep and food if you want to grow," Sakura said. "Either way, I'm hungry," Naruto said, walking over to the table in the room and sitting down. That's when Itachi, Sasuke, and Sakura noticed the house of Esby. The time they were sat down, Naruto had scarfed down an entire plate of each: pancakes, sausage, eggs, toast, and oranges. He didn't eat the peels. He had also managed to fit an entire bowl of cereal. And had almost 5 cups of juice. And all in about 5 minutes, he was hungry. Everyone stared at him. "What? I told you I was hungry." They finished eating. And by that time they were all laughing evilly, Itachi finally deciding it would be fun. A certain other teacher had been getting on his nerves lately, not to mention tormenting his younger siblings. Snape opened the door to his office. The stupid new teacher, the older brother of the stupid James clone, had insisted on talking to him. And after 20 minutes he had finally managed to get Awinli to open his door and find a pink office. Everything in his office Wasping Q turned and stomped right back to the entrance hall to see a very unamusing, to him anyways, banner on the wall. And it read. "Welcome to the pranking club nicknamed SINGFS, PS. You really shouldn't be picking on kids, Snape, especially 10-year-olds, and if you don't want a repeat of this incident you need to be fair and stop being a stupid old man living in the past. Next time your office will be a TUNDRA or worse." Snape ripped down the banner and stomped back to his office. Then he didn't come out for dinner or breakfast on Sunday morning. He finally reappeared that Sunday for lunch, smirking this was not going to turn out well. Well, by the end of lunch, let's say Itachi, Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto, Fred and George had all become the laughing stock of the school, well until, that is, everyone that had laughed at them had found either tundra, flooded, and/or desert-like room. Everyone stopped laughing at them after that. Of course, Snape's active pranksterness also left the school in between two forces. One, Fred, George, and their arsenal of pranks. Second was Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, with blackmail, Itachi, and their imaginative nights. Be Friday on the second week of school, the teachers, minus Itachi, plus Filch, could, to put it short and simple, say they were starting to plot against the pranksters, and the reasons being: 1. The Great Hall had been flooded. That ought to do it, eh George? 2. The Great Hall had been set on fire. Itachi, Sasuke, I think you overdid it. They all run away, the tables had to be rebuilt from scratch. 3. The Slytherin common room had been turned totally red. Including the people inside. When it happened, the teachers were getting tired of the complaints. Fred and George high five as everyone tries to take showers, but the coloring wouldn't come off. 4. There had been rain in the teachers' lounge for almost 3 days. We're all soaked. Itachi flares chakra and they all dry off. 5. Itching powder was something you expected to find in your bed. But Fred, why do I have to do it? 6. Students were randomly going unconscious due to massive nosebleeds. Stop using that perverted just to. Sakura chases Naruto and Sasuke around the school grounds. 7. Food fight started randomly during different meals. George throws his mashed potatoes when no one's looking. 3 minutes later, food fight. 8. The sewer pipes in the wall of the entrance hall had been blasted open. That tag should be going off right about boom. 9. Someone had been playing catch with Trelawney's crystal balls. Hey Gred, catch. Shatter. 10. Every book in the castle, library included, had been enchanted to fly around trying to bite people. Except Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura's. You want to know about Itachi? Sorry, I can't ask him, he's too busy fighting off his books. Meanwhile, Fred, help, this book is trying to bite off my hand. 5 minutes later, don't worry George, we'll get them back for this. Itachi sat down Friday around noon. After hours, the enchantment on the books had finally broken. And after all the pranks he had been helping with that week, he was tired. But he got up and got ready to do his class anyways. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Ron arrived 5 minutes early. They stood there in an amazingly large crowd. Sasuke and Itachi had bet there would be less, while Sakura and Naruto had bet against them, and Ron had said there would be no one but themselves. But instead the crowd had gotten bigger, much bigger. Instead of the 80 there were before, there were about 150. This made it hard to get to where Itachi could see them, as in Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto, but in the end, they finally managed to shove through to the front right as Itachi appeared. Alright, I think everyone coming is here, Itachi said, looking over his students. Is it just me or are there more of you? I thought your class was really fun, so I invited a few friends. One first-year boy called out. Oh well, come on, let's go. He said. They once again walked out of the entrance hall, but this time they walked to the front of the lake. Alright, I decided the lake would be a good place to start. And a certain someone is late, so I need something harder for 3 anxious kitties to do. What are we supposed to do, swim? That water is probably freezing. Someone called. No. Itachi answered flatly, pulling out his scary voice. Worse. You get to do 15 laps from the scorched spot I leave once you're gone to the front doors of the castle. Will each way count as 1 lap? A 5th-year desperately asked. No. Now go. Or it's 30 laps. Everyone left. Grand Fireball Jutsu. Itachi said and scorched the ground. What should we do? Naruto asked. You will begin water walking. But we aren't even supposed to learn that until we become genin. Sakura said, amazed. You, Sakura, obviously have superb chakra control, so I have no doubt you will get it quickly. Naruto and Sasuke, you need to work on chakra control, so I decided this would be good for you. And that old toad is late, he will hopefully be here later once he's finally decided it's time to get up, and if he doesn't show he'll pay for it. Albert, we're just going to go water walk now. One more thing, every time you fall in I will use my magic to cool your part of the lake. So don't fall in a lot. Since when could you use magic? Sasuke asked. Since they had no idea I had magic, I got no letter for school. But Uncle James, having been from one of their greater magical families, was already known for magic. So then you being his son would set you for a letter once they matched the strange occurrences of magic with yours. But I on the other hand apparently had a much better rein in on my power because I never had any accidental magic. Perhaps it was from graduating so quickly and working through the ranks. Either way, I didn't receive a letter, even though I could very well have come here and learned magic. But since I can still do magic, the nicer teachers are taking their spare time to teach me how to use my magic. The nicer teachers as in anyone and everyone but Snape, Trelawney and Quirrell. Sasuke said blandly. He didn't like those teachers. Everyone but Snape. What don't you like about Quirrell and Trelawney anyways? Itachi asked sitting down. Sasuke, Sakura and Naruto had long forgotten water walking and they sat down too. Why do you three get to sit down and we're stuck running? George asked as he made it back to the lake for his 5th time. Impressive, you're on lap 5 when everyone else is on lap 2, but if you don't start jogging again within the next 5 seconds you'll be swimming in the lake. George took off, not wanting to think about how cold that lake must have been. Gosh Itachi, sometimes you go full Anbu mode and it's kinda scary. Sakura said. Now Sasuke, why don't you like the professors? Itachi asked, ignoring Sakura's comment. Well, for one, Quirrell likes to babble on about a vampire, his stutter is so fake, he just looks suspicious, his turban is hiding something, and every time he looks at me my scar burns. Sasuke explained. Itachi's face grew a bit paler as Sasuke went on, but he frowned when Sasuke mentioned his scar. And what about Trelawney? I think Naruto can explain that better than I. She looks at me weird every meal, she stares at me. Like she wants something or wants me for something. The large group that George had detached from passed them for the 5th time as George sat down with Itachi, Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke. Very odd, Itachi muttered. What's odd? George asked. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. Itachi mused. Now I'm going to go get a certain Sannin out here. Itachi said, standing and disappearing. As soon as Itachi was gone, Sasuke did something weird. He grabbed George's hand and pushed chakra into it where a tenketsu is for those that unlock their chakra. He pushed and waited as George tried to get his hand away from Sasuke, being a little more than weirded out until he stopped. Wait, why was there energy pushing into something inside him? What are you? George stopped as there was a splash behind him and Jiraiya was dropped bridal style ahem. Jiraiya tripped into the lake. Itachi reappeared with a camera and he took a picture. He knew both his father and the Hokage would get a great laugh out of it. Yes, Fugaku can laugh. Itachi. Guess what I just found out? You tell, because Naruto and I are totally lost as to what you just did. Sakura said. George here did the run so fast I was curious, so I pushed some chakra to his hand to see if he had unlocked his chakra coils, then my chakra was literally sucked up. He somehow unlocked his chakra. Sucked up you say? Itachi said. Sasuke nodded. Chakra? It's what we use at home. Our own version of magic. Itachi explained. You all seem to be able to use this chakra, is there any chance you could teach me? George asked. Depends on what the Hokage, our leader, says. I'll have to ask him first. Itachi said. George looked both hopeful and doubtful at the same time. Jiraiya saw this. Don't worry kid, I bet I can give him a year's supply of aspirin, lend him a few shadow clones to help with the paperwork and a bottle of sake and he'll be completely willing to let you train. Jiraiya said. Maybe something with caffeine too. The old geezer is probably sleeping at his desk again. Back in Konoha. Those sleeping drugs worked like a charm, Shikamaru said as him and Shino crept out of the Hokage's office. But they froze as he sneezed twice, fell out of his chair, and still didn't wake up. Think we put a bit too much of the sleeping drug in that tea? Shino asked. Nah, it just means he won't be whining for the entire village to hear for longer than we had expected. Shikamaru said lazily. Should we put him back in his chair? Shino asked. Nah, too troublesome. Shikamaru answered. Then he walked out. The Chunin outside the Hokage's office sighed in relief. The awful and disconcerting whimpering and whining had finally stopped. The Hokage had been doing paperwork and whining the entire time because it just kept piling in. Back to Hogwarts. Jiraiya had finally taken the kids to train and now Itachi was putting his full attention on the out-of-shape kiddies. But he put a lot of effort into George at least starting to teach him some very basic taijutsu. He had almost no doubt that the Hokage would say yes to training George. Well, after he had met the kid. Itachi and Jiraiya were planning on going and asking that night. Then if the Hokage wanted to he could meet George in early morning. He worked on the class, setting them with a task of 50 push-ups but stopped when a scream almost ripped the air. Naruto. Sakura and Sasuke screamed. He barely glanced an orange sleeve. Naruto changed into his old clothes for his class before Naruto started falling down a conveniently placed deep crevice. Itachi was there in less than a second. What the heck are you doing? Itachi screamed at Jiraiya, furious as he watched Naruto try and fail to grab the stone on the inside. He would have jumped himself but he wouldn't have done anything. Naruto was falling, that stupid old man was trying to kill him. He had thought he may have had another person he could trust not to try and kill him, but apparently not. And now he wouldn't have anyone. He was going to die. And there was nothing he could do about it unless he summoned a toad that could jam itself there and he could land. But that was impossible. He was just letting himself fall, but a tug in his mind and he was somewhere else entirely. But then it hit him. This was the place of that weird dream. He followed what he had done in the dream. He walked down a long hall, not stopping until he came to the end. He turned to the right and went into another hall. Once again he walked not stopping until walking into a large room with amazingly high ceilings. And in front of him were the metal bars. He stood there watching every little thing until suddenly two red eyes appeared in the previously dark cage, then a very toothy mouth showed up under them. "Well, Brad, you have finally found this place. How nice it would be to eat you, but this accursed gate confides me." The Nine-Tails growled. His claws suddenly trying to get him. Naruto stood his ground 4 to 5 feet away. "Look, you dang fox, you're in my body and you owe me rent. So for payment I'll just be taking your chakra. Got that?" Naruto yelled, repeating his dream. "Well, I supposed I'm not able to kill you, am I? Since if you die I die," he said, chakra moving between the bars of the cage and wrapping around Naruto. Itachi watched in horror. No one but the great and powerful Toad Sage would be able to help Naruto with such slippery rock, but the old man said it was teaching. It looked more like trying to kill his brother. Naruto seemed to have given up because he stopped trying to catch the rock. But suddenly he saw a red glow and two red eyes peering up at him. Naruto opened the eyes he didn't know were closed in the first place. But the strange thing was that everything was clear. And every smell around him was overpowering. His senses were in overdrive. He looked at his hands as blood dripped from his palms. They were clawed. But then he remembered his situation. "Well, I hope this works," Naruto said. He bit his thumb and summoning jutsu. Naruto yelled. A big toad appeared under Naruto. He landed on its back. "What the heck?" He summoned Gamabunta. Jiraiya yelled. "How did a child summon me? Where is Jiraiya?" Gamabunta yelled. He hopped out of the fissure and then Jiraiya got a good earful first from Gamabunta. Then from Itachi, and that was only the start of it. And while Jiraiya was being chewed out, Naruto was trying to stay on Gamabunta's back. Jiraiya walked into the Hokage's office, his face turned from one of 5-year-old with a hand caught in the cookie jar to sever worry. He saw his old sensei sprawled out on the floor. Dead or sleeping, he hurried over and checked to make sure the old man was still breathing. To his relief, with a small amount of water, the old Hokage woke up. When did I end up? Why did I floor or sleep them?" he said them darkly. Then looked around at the paperwork and sat back at his desk sighing. He picked up his pen and started to read over more mission requests, whimpering. What exactly happened? Those evil little pranksters, they put something in the tea they gave me and I fell asleep. Then you woke me up. Why did they do that?" Jiraiya asked, trying to avoid his sensei's eyes. "I would rather not talk about it." "Jiraiya, don't you have something you would like to tell the Hokage about?" Itachi asked. He was still more than pissed at Jiraiya. "No, I don't want to tell him. But I don't want him to see that picture either. There's more than that single picture. I had a clone taking pictures. I probably have enough blackmail to last the rest of your life." Fine. Jiraiya said, his face once again that of a kid with their hand caught in the cookie jar. The Hokage looked up. The last time he looked this guilty was when Tsunade beat him within an inch of his life for peeping. "Well, he condasert him episibladid had tone." Jiraiya stopped. Just flicking his godson, his student son, off a cliff like that was hard enough. But having to admit it to his sensei, who cared about Naruto, was just humiliating and scary, not to mention he felt really guilty. Naruto had promised never to speak to him again. Itachi, Sasuke and Sakura had promised that if he ever touched Naruto again, he would find something broken. And he had seen the three burning any and all of his books they could find. Itachi even snatched Kakashi's head and burned it. "You see, Lord Hokage? He flicked Naruto off a cliff and Naruto could have died. And it was also he would summon." Itachi explained. Jiraiya's heart snapped when his sensei started glaring at him slightly. "It's not like I enjoyed it," Jiraiya said. "In fact, I kind of regret doing it at all. But I can't change the fact that I did it because I've done it. And it's over." As a matter of fact, he's probably still clinging to Gamabunta's back. "Yeah, well, you still could have killed him," Itachi yelled. "Do you think I didn't realize that? He's my godson, for goodness sake. I knew what I was doing at that moment. Of course now hates me and never wants to talk to me again. And I'll never be able to touch him without getting something broken, courtesy of Pinky, Little Mr. Negativity, and yourself. But at least he'll be able to protect himself somewhat." Itachi backed off, thinking about what Jiraiya had just told him. And the third watched the two. He decided if he intervened and took sides, he would just make it worse. "Wait, you were his godfather and you never took him in?" Itachi yelled, once again enraged. "How long do you think he would have survived with me? First of all, I know next to nothing about kids. The best practice I've ever had was my Genin squad. I travel a lot. And besides, I have way too many enemies. How many times do you think he would have been used against me? It was better to watch from the shadows. Show no connection and check in once in a while. Besides, I was a bit busy trying to gather info on a group that may very well kidnap and kill Naruto without a single bit of sympathy. I'm not as irresponsible as you think. Jiraiya ranted. He then disappeared, leaving a thunderstruck Itachi Uchiha to plop down into a seat. The Hokage sent for some tea to get Itachi back up on energy. Was all of that true? Itachi finally asked. Every word. Sarutobi said. I have one more thing to talk to you about. Itachi said. And what would that be? It's about someone we met. He accidentally unlocked his chakra. The Ninja of Hogwarts Chapter 7. Letters from Home and the Kidnappers. It had been 8 days since Naruto had been flicked off the cliff and now he didn't go near the thing and hardly went 10 feet away from the school when training unless someone was outside with him. Hey guys, look, it's Tsunade. Naruto said, pointing out a snowy owl. Yay, and she's about to crash from all the letters and gifts. Sasuke said. Catch her. Sakura shouted. Tsunade landed in oatmeal, splattering everyone near the bowl with it. Oh man, now I have to take a shower, Naruto said, looking at himself. I think the drain pipe will plug up before all this oatmeal is off. Sasuke said. Ooh, look at poor Tsunade. Sakura said as Tsunade got up and held out her oatmeal-covered leg weighed down with letters and packages. Sakura went through the letters absently, handing out the mail shared between her, Sasuke, and Naruto. She even found one for Itachi. Iruka-sensei sent me some ramen. Naruto said. Iruka-sensei sent me a ladder too. Does yours happen to have a list of people to prank too? Yay. Ooh, and I got a letter from the old man. My parents say the two of you and Itachi will be coming to my house for dinner when we visit home. Sakura said. Oh, and Iruka-sensei says to cause some mayhem and give the Hokage something to put him to sleep. Apparently the old man's been whining as he does paperwork and well, the entire village has to hear it. Ah ha ha. Apparently Shino and Shikamaru already did that. Listen to this. Naruto said. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, it's Shino. First, I would like to say it's been boring and too quiet in the village without you three to cause mayhem, but of course we've been doing our best to fix that. Second, Kiba's gone crazy with itching powder. And third, now I have to be done because everyone else wants to write something except Shikamaru. He fell asleep against the wall. Sasuke decided to read. Hey Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Akamaru says hi too. You have no idea what Shikamaru and Shino did. It was hilarious. They gave the old man some tea with sleeping drugs in it. He was out within minutes. Oh, and we've got another prank we're going to do. Shino just left to set it into action and we'll get a picture of the results for you guys and send it. Sakura took the letter to read. Hi, it's Shikamaru. They woke me up from my dream of cloud watching Wada Dragwell. First, I would like to clarify something. Shino and I only put sleeping drugs in that tea because the old man had been whining. Tears and all as he did his paperwork. The entire village could hear our great and powerful Hokage pretty much crying. So we decided to shut him up for a while. Also Naruto, I heard you were flicked down a hole. Literally, are you alright? Don't go letting that happen or you'll never get to graduate the academy. Got it? No dying. Otherwise I'll bring you back and kill you again. Bye. Naruto took the letter back. Hi, it's Choji. Shikamaru snoozing again. I wonder what would happen if you gave Inara sleeping drugs. He ought to have Shikamaru secretly give his father some right before a big meeting. Doubt they leave in Natis anyways. I hope you're all doing alright. I have to go assist Shino now. Alright, here's the picture we took and switched the old man's coffee to decaf. Naruto showed them a picture of the Hokage laying on his desk, either out of energy or sleeping, or both. Mother and father say they have a surprise for you and me, Naruto, when the holiday we get to leave this school for comes. I wonder what it is, Naruto said, thinking, but he frowned as he got a strange sense of someone watching him. George seemed to have the same uneasiness. Itachi smirked at the high table. He couldn't wait until all the paperwork was done and Naruto found out. But then he thought about the matter of Jiraiya, as his godfather Jiraiya was going to be important. And the entire reason he had even pushed Naruto was to get him to summon so those Akatsuki would have a fight when they eventually tried to kidnap Naruto. In the end, Jiraiya did care. And he had even left a toad at the bottom unseen by anyone else that could have saved him if he had been unable to summon in time. But still, Naruto could have landed wrong and died anyways. Itachi was still not going to forgive Jiraiya until the perverted old man did something consequential. Yup, don't worry Jiraiya, you won't be banned from touching Naruto very soon. Bubblekin 10 turns back and casually talks with the Akatsuki again. Jiraiya sighs knowing this author and the way she's talking with the Akatsuki. Naruto's going to be kidnapped or something. In the Forbidden Forest, at midnight. So both the two and the Nine Tails are there, are they? Someone in black robes, with ruby clouds on it said. Yes. I can easily sense it. That demonic sense, as though something deadly was near you. I checked out all of the students and found both the Two Tails and the Nine Tails. A woman covered in shadow said. So a snaky sounding voice butted in. Then we have 3 to steal away from here. If you still want my help sneaking one of you inside, then yes. Quirrell said. You speak boldly, wizard. The one that had spoken first said. Perhaps, but if you want any chance of reaching such a goal as yours or ours, you must act boldly, your actions may bring you ruin or victory. Quirrell said. True, the woman agreed. How many of us can you get into the castle? I've already gotten myself inside by impersonating that girl, we should release her once we finish. I believe you are the only one that would be useful inside. If you can make a clone of each of the children, then you will be able to get them outside, then we all flee. Quirrell said, laying out a good plan. I agree. The woman said. Me too. So long as we get the Jinchuriki. The snaky-voiced one said. Good job, Jiraiya, you're learning my style. Naruto got up. It was Sunday morning. But he hadn't slept that well the night before. He had a feeling something bad was going to happen. And then there was that dream, that brand new dream. Flash back into Naruto's dream. Naruto woke up and found he was tied up, blindfolded, and gagged. He couldn't move an inch. He couldn't even move his head. He also felt a slight throbbing in his arm, meaning someone could have given him something. All he knew without sight was that this was someone new to him. They felt different and smelled like paper. They were probably just carrying paper bombs. He was suddenly dropped somewhat roughly on the ground. He groaned. Just like my dream, he thought, as two other people were dropped beside him, and there were groans from them as well. Wait. The sound they made. That was his. End of flashback into Naruto's dream. Is that and who? It sounded familiar, but Naruto went on about it to himself until Sasuke finally dragged him down to breakfast. If Naruto was right, something was going to happen. And if he was right about his dreams, that dream was going to happen. It was going to happen just like the last dream and the fox. It was going to happen unexpectedly, and he could do nothing to stop it. He knew as much. He just hoped that maybe it would all turn out all right. Naruto, Sasuke finally said. Naruto didn't answer, he was thinking. He's really out of it today, Sakura said. She turned a bit on her seat. Naruto, I'll poke you. I've eaten all your ramen. I'm going to fall in love with Sasuke. We'll get married and have 10 kids. Heck no. Sasuke countered. Aha. Hinata and Kiba are in love. No reaction. Her head dropped. I give off's never going to react. Hinoha's about to go boom? Sasuke asked. Itachi appeared and poked Naruto. All that did was make him fall backwards and land on the ground, still out of it. The most Naruto did was mutter an ow when he fell. Oops. Itachi said, picking Naruto up and putting him back in front of his plate. I'll just be up at the staff table. Alright, fine. Sakura opened his mouth, he needs tea. No. I'm fine, I'll eat on my own, thank you very much. Naruto said quickly. You've been tripping and crashing into walls and staring all day long. Sasuke said. You haven't even reacted to any of the food. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking. Naruto said, taking a bite of the dinner Sakura had piled onto his plate. He took a drink of his juice and suddenly felt tired. But he didn't speak of it, already deep in thought again, while he absent-mindedly ate mechanically. Sasuke, Naruto and George went to bed early, being really tired. I don't know why, but I'm just really tired all of a sudden. Me too, Sasuke said. George yawned. I'm coming to. The three left and headed towards the Gryffindor common room. Do any of you have a feeling someone's watching us? Because I've been feeling it for about 2 weeks now. Naruto said. I've been able to feel it too. George said. I've felt it and even caught a few glimpses of someone getting away. Itachi's been on the lookout for suspicious characters. I wonder. You wonder what? Sasuke asked. Oh, I've just been having a different dream, but it's weird. How's it weird? George asked as they walked into the common room. Into the dormitory first. Naruto said. So the three boys walked up to the dorm Sasuke and Naruto were sharing with the other boys. Once they had settled down, Naruto made a full account of his dream. And that's what I've been thinking about all day. Naruto finished. He had been worried because not only was he in danger, but 2 people he knew were as well. Well, I guess we should sleep lightly and just keep an ear out for any suspicious noises. Sasuke said. I will also tell Itachi tomorrow. Yay, Naruto said. Then yawn flopped back and was instantly asleep. The 3 really tried to sleep very lightly. They really did. But in the end they were out and dreaming. None of them even woke up from the pricks, as someone gave each of them a sedative to paralyze them for a few hours. Then they could do nothing as they were bound, gagged, and blindfolded. Naruto woke up and found he was tied up, blindfolded, and gagged. He couldn't move an inch. He couldn't even move his head. He also felt a slight throbbing in his arm, meaning someone could have given him something. All he knew without sight was that this was someone new to him. They felt different and smelled like paper. They were probably just carrying paper bombs. He was suddenly dropped somewhat roughly on the ground. He groaned. Just like my dream, he thought, as 2 other people were dropped beside him and there were groans from them as well. Wait. The sound they made. That was now I know who it was. But I can't do anything about it, nothing at all. The only things he could tell was that there were at least 2 people in the area. Sasuke, George, and himself had all been kidnapped. It was after sunrise due to the small amount of light getting through his eyelids and the blindfold. He heard talking, obviously the kidnappers didn't care about the fact that their 3 captives heard them or not. "Conan, how are the clones?" the snaky voice asked. "One is almost to the point of needing resupplied on chakra, or I could just explode it now. Deidara will be very proud to know I made and exploded clones of paper bombs, huh Orochimaru?" Conan asked. "Yes, well, do you just want it to explode now? We're at least 4 hours out. You will probably lose contact with your clone soon enough. It might be best," Orochimaru said. "I agree, we're far away." Quirrell's voice snipped in. "Kisum, what do you think?" Conan asked Kisum. "Do it, make Deidara proud. Oh, and tell him you'll blow up all his clay if he tries to steal my sword again or my wallet, my Jinchuriki," Kisum answered. Fine," Conan said. Suddenly he heard a very, very faint boom in the distance. Just how big was that explosion? There was a smaller poof a bit closer. One of his captors walked over to Naruto and they pulled off his blindfold. He kept his eyes closed hoping they wouldn't know he was awake. He didn't want to take that chance. He also heard Sasuke and George's blindfolds get taken off. "This one is still out, what about the other ones?" he heard Conan say from above him. "These 2 are still out of it. Or so I think," Orochimaru said. Naruto heard someone get kicked. Sasuke responded loudly, even though the cloth gagging him, he heard a loud "ouch." Next, George yelped. Then the same person walked over to him. He suppressed a screech as he was also kicked, being turned onto his stomach. He tried to stay silent, but found he couldn't help but whimper as the shoe that had kicked him bruised and broke more than a few ribs. "Humph, well, I at least feel a bit calmer after getting my pathetic old teammates, Godson," Orochimaru thought. "This one seems to still be under all the sedatives. Or he's just making an effort in keeping quiet," Orochimaru said. Naruto waited for the second kick, but he almost gasped when Conan stopped the weird snaky guy. "Orochimaru, stop. I already heard a few ribs go, any more and you could possibly kill him, even with such good healing ability, any more things broken, and we'll have to risk camping for the night. And if the kid dies, the Biju sealed inside would die as well. And our objectives would be impossible to reach," Conan said. She actually knew Naruto was awake, but had decided, as she still had a heart, to get Orochimaru to leave him be. Letting someone hurt a little kid like that, with her right there, and the fact that she could stop it but didn't would have made internal conflict later. She planned on wrapping Naruto's ribs later. "Fine. I guess you're right," Orochimaru said. Naruto barely heard him walk away before blacking out from the pain. Sasuke had woken up when he got kicked in the side. Whoever had done it had moved on to George next. But then when it came to Naruto, he felt like committing murder when he heard cracks. The person that had kicked him had obviously gotten Naruto too, but a lot harder. He was somewhat grateful to that Conan lady after she had stopped Orochimaru from kicking Naruto again. But he did see a teardrop touch the ground after their captors had gone to do various jobs to get ready for a seemingly long trip. He watched Naruto unable to do anything, he couldn't even roll closer. He was 8 feet away from his brother, but he felt if he could just get a foot or 2 closer, he could make them both feel better. But he couldn't. He was useless and weak. He couldn't even manage rolling a bit towards Naruto. He hated himself and he hated that Orochimaru guy. When he finally got free, someone was going to die. And that someone was a snaky pain in the butt. George laid there. He had no idea why he had been taken to, but he was kind of glad because at least he would be there if anything happened. Ron, Fred, and himself had been accepted as brother figures to Sasuke, Sakura, Itachi, and Naruto. They had also grown to care about them as well and decided to watch out for them when they needed to. Well, this was one of those times. He saw Sasuke struggling to roll, having given up on escaping. "Sasuke, if I could manage to give you a little bit of a shove, do you think could you get the rest of the way to Naruto?" Sasuke nodded. So George managed to get his hand out enough to push Sasuke up an inch or 2. That was all Sasuke needed. He rolled the 8 feet, getting enough force from the first roll to roll the rest. The only problem was that he bumped Naruto, jostling his poor broken ribs. Then back at Hogwarts. Jiraiya went around, frantically searching for any sign of his godson. No such luck. He asked a few kids, and they said that Naruto, Sasuke, and George had literally gone boom before their very eyes. Hogwarts was in chaos, 8 classrooms and a hallway had been blasted into smithereens, not to mention everything within a 40-foot radius had been well destroyed. Luckily no one had died. Finally, after almost an hour, he found something that told him what had happened and what was happening. He had found a shredded paper bomb right where Sasuke had been sitting before going boom. "So Conan is behind this," Jiraiya said sadly. "I never thought she would take part in this kind of thing, but I at least know what's going on. But why did they take the George kid?" Unless it couldn't be that feeling I got around Hime, bet that's it, he pieced, then leapt away going his fastest. He had to find them before they got too far away to track. Back to the kidnapping, Suo dead Akatsuki. Sasuke definitely owed George one. He was right beside Naruto now, and George was making his way ever so slowly, using his hand, as it hadn't been completely bound, to boost himself and roll. By the time one of their captors had come back, they were all three right beside each other in a row. Naruto was silently crying from the pain, while Sasuke and George did their best to calm him down so he didn't injure himself further. Now the fox is working, it just takes a lot of time to fix bones, because his chakra, while it can help heal Naruto, it is almost as destructive as it is helpful. Naruto, try not to breathe so hard, just breath normally, otherwise you might make the injury worse. Fred said, barely audible. He's right, you know. We'll get out of this, just you wait. I bet there's at least one person coming to find us. Sasuke said in a reassuring tone. But he froze in horror as Naruto started coughing up red and brown dirt. That kick must have been harder than everyone had thought, and not only was Naruto more injured than thought, but it was being made worse by the coughing. But what was worse was that one of their captors came through the bushes. By now Naruto had gone unconscious again. When he saw who it was, he was at least glad it was Konan. Watching her, he was able to conclude she had known Naruto was awake, yet she didn't let Orochimaru hurt him anymore. She was obviously the nicest of them. Konan hated hurting children. She had been an orphan, and as such she knew what it was like to be lonely. Even with her friends, she still knew there was a gaping hole in her heart, a hole that would never be filled. But at least she could do little things to help others. She didn't like watching Orochimaru hurt people. It made her feel somewhat sick. So she had stopped him from doing any more damage. She knew that he mostly just wanted revenge, considering Naruto was apparently the godson of one of his old teammates. When she overheard that it was her old sensei, she became a little more than guilty about kidnapping him, but there was really no other way to complete their mission. She had almost thought of taking the kids and taking them back to Hogwarts, but with them they would be caught, she would be killed, and they would still be taken. No, it was better to just keep going and keep him safe. Okay, Yaeshi Kinda has just turned to protective older sister mode for Naruto. She's Suo leaving the Akatsuki early. You two should move back to where you were before, otherwise you might get hurt. Konan warned George and Sasuke, but they didn't move. Do you honestly think that Orochimaru is going to accept that you were already there? Move back. Konan said forcefully. No. They both said, though a bit muffled. Look, I'm going to take care of Naruto, but I can't do it with you two right there. Konan explained. Their eyes widened slightly. Why would you? Sasuke started. He is the godson of my old sensei, and I don't like seeing little kids in pain. So start going. But we can't. George said. Fine, then I'll give you a push. Konan said. She pushed George and Sasuke, and they finished getting all the way while Konan worked on Naruto. She untied, started to heal with her little knowledge of medical ninjutsu, wrapped his broken ribs, and gave him pain reliever. Then she tied him back up and made it seem as though she had done nothing except turn him over. Yes, definitely going to join that little group of surrogate siblings. Jiraiya was making his way through the forest. Gamakichi had spotted Naruto, Sasuke, George, Orochimaru, Quirrell, Konan, and a missing nin called Kisame Hoshigaki. And after his last check-in with the spy he had watching the Akatsuki, he found that, to his dismay, Orochimaru was a part of the Akatsuki. We're almost there, only a minute or two more. Gamakichi said. They traveled on, but when they got to the spot Gamakichi had spotted them at, it was empty. There were only very faint signs that anyone had been there. Jiraiya swervedly. Gamakichi, I want you to go and find them again. I'm not a dog, you know. I can't. Fine, I'll do it myself. Jiraiya said rudely. Gamakichi poofed away in anger. Jiraiya searched the entire area, finally finding fresh tracks. He followed them. After about 20 minutes he finally caught up. He stopped 10 feet in front of them. He took in his enemies. Orochimaru was carrying George with one arm and looked much more deadly than he could ever remember. Konan was holding Naruto very carefully, though he had no idea why, yet. And Kisame had Sasuke over his shoulder. His odds didn't look very good. Not only were there 3 kids that were helpless, but it was a 3-on-1 battle, would have been 4-on-1, but Quirrell was too busy hiding behind a tree until the unexpected happened, and Konan unexpectedly knocked Kisame and Orochimaru off balance, kicking George and Sasuke to Jiraiya. Then she leapt over beside him. How dare you? Orochimaru. She said, spitting Orochimaru's name out like the snake venom it was. How can you even live with yourself? You're disgusting and evil. I'm glad I stopped you earlier. Our attempt would have been futile, and you may very well have fatally injured Naruto. Innocent people get hurt. Well, not in front of me. I refuse to just sit back and watch you do something such as that. And now I'm done with the Akatsuki. Jiraiya looked at Konan. Conan had been cradling Naruto way too carefully to be evil, and well, just the tone of her voice, as she chewed Orochimaru out, was enough to tell him she was truly done with the Akatsuki and less fighting against them. What exactly did he do? He asked. Conan hesitated. Well, Orochimaru and Naruto, and broken ribs, and Conan backed away as Jiraiya let loose so much killing intent, Kisame almost looked uncomfortable. I almost wish I hadn't said anything, but then again I will have no pity when Jiraiya kicks their butts to Konoha and back. The Ninja of Hogwarts Chapter 8. Return to Hogwarts. Conan set Naruto down and went to Sasuke and George. She untied them and they ungagged themselves. Conan, I would like you to take the kiddies back to the school, Jiraiya said in a voice daring her to contradict him. Conan tried. But though Jiraiya said pointing to the school. But. If one of these guys follows then you'll be there to protect them. Go. Fine. Conan agreed. She picked up Naruto and the group of 4 got moving. Will he be alright? George asked. I have no idea. It's been a while since I've last met him. And how long is a while? Sasuke asked. He don't know, anywhere from 8 to 12 years, Conan answered. Oh, it was silent until that his Gamabunta shook the ground with a crash as he squished Orochimaru, Kisame, and Quirrell. He didn't think that any of them were able to be marked out, but it must have done considerable damage. Conan, knowing soon the battle would escalate, picked up the pace. George keeping up nicely, and Sasuke used some chakra to move faster. They were out of the Forbidden Forest within 3 minutes, and on they went to Hogwarts, leaving Orochimaru, Kisame and Quirrell to Jiraiya's non-existent mercy. They went into the castle and stood in the entrance panting. I haven't run that faster long since the Anbu chased me, Choji, and Naruto for putting sleeping drugs in the soup we left, said Sasuke. Oh crap. What? Conan asked. McGonagall. Where have you been? McGonagall yelled. The entire school was in a panic because you 3 supposedly exploded. About that. I'm really sorry. I had to. If I hadn't, then Orochimaru, Kisame, and Quirrell would have known I wasn't fully an ally, then who knows what would have happened to these 3, Conan said. McGonagall looked at her strangely. What's wrong? She doesn't understand you. Sasuke said. Professor, would you please use a language charm on Conan? Right. McGonagall said. She cast the charm. Understand me now? Conan asked. Yes, very well. Good. Now let me repeat my earlier message. I apologize about the explosions. They were my fault. But I had little choice in the matter. McGonagall gaped. Well, I must insist you all come to the headmaster's office at once. McGonagall said. Can we leave Naruto in the infirmary first? Sasuke asked. Why, yes. If you must. It's important. George said. McGonagall nodded and they left Naruto in the infirmary. Then McGonagall took them to Dumbledore's office. So might I ask why you did this? Dumbledore asked Conan as soon as Sasuke, George and McGonagall were outside his office. He would talk with Sasuke and George in a bit. Well, I was kind of part of a group called the Akatsuki. The goal of the organization was, and still is, to capture the 9-tailed beasts. But you see 2 of them were here, and so we got help from Professor Quirrell to enter the castle and take the 2. But for his help we had to pay him with the one he wishes to destroy, and so I, being the only one that was deemed to be useful in the castle, due to the fact that I had been impersonating a student, took the 3, and then I fled with the 2 that were there as backup and a way to transport our targets. But you see, I found out that apparently one of them was the godson of my old sensei. And I had almost just run off with the 3. But I concluded that in the end they still would have been taken. So I decided wait and see if anyone came that could help me get them back here. Luckily Jiraiya came and allowed me to do so. And now I'm here. And what role did each of them play? Well, Sasuke is apparently somehow Moldy Short's arch-nemesis for 9 or more years now. George somehow has the 2-tailed Nibi sealed inside him. And Naruto is the container of the 9-tailed fox, the most powerful. I could easily see him become the Hokage of Konoha. First, Moldy Shorts. Second, Nibi. Third, tailed beasts. And fourth, most powerful. Dumbledore said, pulling the key words of the parts he didn't understand. Moldy Shorts, Voldemort, I don't like the dude either way. Nibi, 2-tailed cat, it's why George can gracefully run 10 miles and only breath hard, while the rest of the class will be on mile 1 about to faint, I've watched it. Third, there are 9-tailed beasts. The 1-tailed Shikaku, the 2-tailed Nibi, or cat, the 3-tailed turtle, the 4-tailed ape, the 5-tailed dolphin horse, the 6-tailed slug, the 7-tailed armor beetle, the 8-tailed octopus ox, and the 9-tailed fox. Fourth, take 1 tail and make it powerful enough to turn your pretty little castle to dust in 1 swipe. Then take that power and multiply it by 10, multiply that by 10, then again and again and again and again and again and again and again. It said the 9 tails can move mountains. There is a reason that the 9-tailed beasts are feared, they can destroy anything they want, even your sweet little school. But trust me, the 2 tails won't get out anytime soon, it's sealed by magic, and 9 tails won't be getting out for a long time if ever. The seal on it is much more than secure, it's ingenious. The 4th Hokage did very well to seal the thing. Ah yes, Minato. I knew him well. So well that immense sweet Kushina said that if I ever found out their son's godfather had been neglecting his duties, I was to talk with him. Of course I have a feeling their idea to talk was to scare some sense into him. May I know who this son and mysterious godfather are? Conan asked. Afraid not. My dear friend Sarutobi told me not to tell anyone about it, for Minato had far too many enemies. Ah. I see. Then I promise that I'll never tell. Yes, you had already figured it out. Yes, his child looks very similar. Similar, the kid's his clone. Conan exclaimed, grinning. Yes, that is a very accurate way of describing him. But in the end I believe while they look the same, the boy will turn out similar, but very individualized in many ways. I agree. And I bet one day Naruto will be a better Hokage than any that go before him. He will be very great. Indeeda. The Akatsuki have a spy in Konoha, so they can scout out Jinchuriki. Naruto woke up and found that he had somehow made it to the school and to the infirmary. Oh, what he would do to stay away from the needles and icky medication. He felt like barfing as he noticed a foul aftertaste of some sort in his mouth. After his vision cleared up, he noticed there were a few other kids in the infirmary as well. He sat up as Madame Pomfrey approached his bed. Ah. You lay back down. She said, pushing him down. He still attempted to get out of his bed, but Madame Pomfrey wouldn't back down, and having his energy as low as it was, he finally stopped. Drink for now. Jiraiya walked into the castle. He was tired, bloody from both his and the 3 he was fighting. His chakra was much more depleted than it had been in years, and he hurt all over. This was one of those times he really wanted to see Tsunade's face. But Tsunade had left the village, wishing never to have anything to do with it again. He dragged his feet holding the wall, finding his way to the infirmary. But he stopped when he heard someone crying. He turned to a pile of rubble and instantly made his way to it. He saw a foot barely sticking out of the pile, and he was soon digging through it, telling whoever was inside that he would get them out. Slowly but surely he uncovered a girl. She revealed she was a second-year Slytherin girl who had only just started to get used to the system at Hogwarts, and then there was an explosion and she was knocked out by a chunk of rock. By the time Jiraiya had finally gotten her out, he had figured out exactly where he was. And knew exactly where to go to get to the infirmary. Sasuke and George sat in front of Dumbledore, his famous piercing eyes stabbing into theirs and pulling out their thoughts and feelings for the master of the famous eyes to read. It scared them a bit. Oh, don't worry, there's nothing to be afraid of. George, do you know exactly where you and Fred were born? England? He asked. No. Dumbledore said, amused. And Sasuke? I was born here. But then somehow ended up with my Uncle and a weird barrier. Dumbledore chuckled. Why are you laughing? George asked. Yes, you see, I find it quite ironic. You Mr. Weasley come from a very prominent wizarding family and were born behind the barrier, but then your parents came here. And you Mr. Uchiha come from this side of the barrier and yet you live over there. Very ironic, don't you think? I guess no. Why are we in here? Sasuke asked. He really wanted to go find Itachi and Sakura so they could go see Naruto. You see, I wish to fill you in on your pasts. Dumbledore said. Neither of you know who you really are. And I want you to learn. Jiraiya walked into the infirmary. There were about 10 people already there. One slowly leaving the place with crutches. He set the girl he had found and he had found out had a broken leg on the nearest bed. Hoppy? Jiraiya said, but got no answer. So he stood there, knowing with this many patients she wouldn't leave, even if someone tried to drag her out, even he wouldn't be able to make her leave. No, the only person that could do that was Dumbledore. And well, he wouldn't do that unless it was extremely urgent. Finally, after about an hour, Jiraiya finally couldn't hold on to consciousness anymore and let himself be taken by all the melatonin in his system. Sasuke and George gaped at Dumbledore. Not only was George something called a Jinchuriki, but Sasuke was supposed to defeat some Lord Voldemort, or as Conan hilariously called him, Moldy Shorts. Sasuke suddenly saw it. He saw it in the old man's eyes. And it enraged him. He saw every little detail. Every little part. Dumbledore had every part of his life planned out. He just hoped the old man wouldn't make him go through all of it. Sasuke stood abruptly. I know what you're thinking. And yes, I did have everything planned out, but I am not going to make you follow what I planned. You may do as you wish. And if you would like, you may leave now. Sasuke turned around, but he froze at Dumbledore's next words. But, if you do decide to do nothing about Voldemort, trust me, he will find and at least attempt, if not succeed, in killing you. And anyone that might stand in his way will die at his hands. I want you to realize that if nothing is done, not only will your countries be destroyed and controlled, but this side of the barrier will also be controlled. People will die. I think before you make a decision to ignore the threat, you might want to think about that. Sasuke walked out, his legs moving from a quick walk to a run in only 30 seconds. Jiraiya woke up to Madame Pomfrey moving over towards him and the girl he had found. He left his head where it was for a second before sitting up. My goodness, Jiraiya. How could you still be okay with so much blood? At least half of it isn't mine. Jiraiya said crossly. What about Naruto? He did make it back, right? Yes, he's all taken care of, about 3 days, and I think he should be free to go. 3 days? Naruto squeaked groggily and quietly. Can't I just go? He whined as Jiraiya started to get up to go sit by Naruto. You get into a bed. And you stop whining or it'll be longer. Pomfrey threatened. Yes ma'am, they both mumbled, complying with her orders. Itachi had finally located Sasuke sitting behind a suit of armor. Anyone without the ability to sense chakra would have passed by and not noticed as they walked past a genjutsu. But Itachi was trained and he noticed it right away. He stopped and released it. What are you doing here, Sasuke? Itachi asked, surprised. You sound surprised. Sasuke said. Well, I was 99.99% sure you would have gone to see Naruto or find Sakura by now. I peeked into the infirmary and Naruto was sleeping. How do you know Naruto's in the infirmary? I was actually at the end of the infirmary treating some of the smaller injuries with my small knowledge of medical jutsu. Ah. Why weren't you in there? Is it related to what you're thinking about? Itachi asked. Apparently Vold was working with Quirrell and now they're trying to get something called the Sorcerer's Stone or something like that. Even though they're found out now, they will be coming back for it. So then he has to be stopped. But that still won't stop him. Also, it seems that George has the two-tailed Nibi sealed inside of him. And then Naruto. Sasuke stopped. It's a lot to take in, huh? Yes. Almost too much to take in, it's confusing and all jumbling up into some jigsaw puzzle. My mind is jumbling into some big and intricate jigsaw puzzle. Sasuke's head fell into his hand as he tried to make some sense of his mind. Perhaps you should go and lay down in your doom for a bit. Itachi suggested. Sasuke shook his head. Or help me find Sakura. And then we can all go see Naruto. Alright, Sasuke agreed. He headed off, eventually finding Sakura guiding a young boy named Joseph towards the infirmary. Sasuke, Sakura and Itachi walked into the infirmary with Joseph on Itachi's back. They instantly spotted Naruto, his yellow hair almost impossible to miss. At the moment the boy was sleeping. They also noticed that Jiraiya didn't seem to like the bed he was stuck in because he was stuck glaring at the ceiling, muttering about how he hated hospitals, especially hospitals where the warden can easily wave a wand and keep you in place. I wonder how exactly. He stayed behind and squished and battled the 3 kidnappers. Sasuke said. So he essentially saved us. George said. Itachi sighed. I guess that combined with other things that you aren't allowed to know means that the ban that Jiraiya isn't allowed to touch Naruto should be forgotten. I agree. Sakura said. But if he ever does that again. She's far too much like Tsunade. Have just got to make sure they never meet, Jiraiya thought. I also agree. Sasuke said. After that they decided to go sit by Naruto. The next few months passed quickly. Naruto got out of the hospital, Jiraiya had to leave for a while, and slowly Halloween rolled around. But instead of dressing up or doing anything really to take part of the holiday, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke trained with Itachi for some special training. They also kidnapped George so he could train. The Hokage had decided it was a little too risky to have the two-tailed Jinchuriki walking around with no idea how to keep the Nibi's chakra from destroying the seal that kept it. So Itachi was training George twice a week. And now that the redhead had sufficient chakra control, Itachi thought that perhaps he could join the rest of them for a lesson in making clones, especially since the technique was still one of the required jutsu on the ever-accursed academy graduation exam. Itachi showed them the hand signs and then went to get everyone's dinner while they were practicing. Sasuke tried the jutsu and found that it was actually quite easy to do. He had an almost perfect clone of himself beside him. Sakura did it almost perfectly the first try as well, and Naruto. He made goo. Sasuke said. Orange goo, Sakura added. And George doesn't seem to be faring too well either, Sasuke said, seeing another pile of goop by said redhead. Are you sure you're putting enough chakra into it? Itachi asked them, also slightly surprised at the goo beside George and Naruto. He put down the plates of food he had. Well, I'm not so mean, I don't feel any amount of exertion. George said, sitting down to eat. He was joined by Sasuke and Sakura, then Naruto. I'm not sure, Naruto admitted. An idea suddenly popped into Itachi's head. Naruto, George the first want you to try something. He said, then showed the two the hand signs for another jutsu. What is it? Naruto asked. I just want you to try it, but if you feel you don't have the chakra for it, then I want you to stop. Itachi said. Naruto and George nodded in agreement. Then they went over to try it, only to find themselves in a crowd of clones of themselves seconds later. Itachi whistled in an amused amazement. Naruto had managed to make about 10 to 30 clones and George had managed to do about 5 to 10. It was not only amazing, but very amusing. Especially as George and Naruto had to shove their way out of the crowd of themselves. What was that? That, my dear brothers, was the shadow clone jutsu. You both have too much chakra to complete the clone jutsu that takes only a small amount of chakra. Are you tired at all? Nope. Naruto chirped, running a circle around Itachi to prove it. Maybe a little. George admitted. November came and passed without incident. But Sasuke, Itachi, Naruto and Sakura were getting a little bit edgy. They were sure that Voldemort would be back for the Sorcerer's Stone. And they also started to realize that because of the time that Vold was taking, he was planning on bringing back reinforcements. So security in the castle tightened. No one, especially not Sasuke, was allowed to leave the castle alone. Sasuke didn't mind too much considering he could usually pester Itachi or Naruto or Sakura to go with him. Soon the end of the semester rolled in and the winter holidays came with it, and one thing came with the winter holidays. Snow. I can't wait to go and see Iruka-sensei and the old man. Naruto said as himself, Sakura, Sasuke, Ron, Fred and George walked down the hall. Who are they? Ron asked. The Hokage and our teacher back home. Naruto said. Yeah, I can't wait to see my parents. Sakura said happily. I think my father will be extremely relieved to see that I come back. Sasuke said. Why are you guys shivering? George asked. What the heck do you mean? We're cold. Sasuke said. The snow had been falling for 1 week straight and although it made him feel trapped, he had bundled up in 5 jackets with 3 heavy coats over those, had about 3 pairs of insulated pants, 4 pairs of gloves and 3 pairs of socks and the socks had made it hard for him to get his sandals on. Sakura, Naruto and Itachi weren't doing any better. Sakura had more clothes on than H did. Luckily they only had to make it 4 more hours, then they could go back to Konoha and all its boiling glory. Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura. Itachi said, appearing behind them. He was dressed in a big heavy black with a few unnoticeable ones beneath it. He also had fur boots. Dumbledore gave me permission for us to leave early tomorrow morning and from what I can tell you want to leave ASAP considering you've been packed for 3 days, not that you need to pack much but still. Finally we can get out of here. Sasuke said, trying to put his fist up in triumph. I can't raise my army coats are keeping me from doing it. Itachi raised an eyebrow, amazed his little brother could even walk. He also noticed that Naruto and Sakura were having the same issue. Itachi, can you help me out of my coats? Naruto asked. Me too please. Sakura added. Itachi sighed. Alright, once we get home. I sent Tsunade ahead with a note telling them we'll be coming about 3 hours sooner than we had originally thought. So you should grab your stuff and wait in my room. In Konoha. Kitetsu and Izumo sat there bored. They were always stuck sitting there all the time. Hey Kitetsu, look, it's Tsunade. Izumo said happily, she always seemed to give them the notes, then they would take them to the Hokage. Finally. It's my turn to take the note to the Hokage. Kitetsu said. He took the note and read. The 2 gate guards read it over like they did for all of them. Crap. They're going to be 3 hours earlier, that means they'll be here in like half an hour. Izumo said. But we still have to set up that prank. Kitetsu agreed. They had been one of the unfortunate people to be caught in the pranks when Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke were around and their entire little pranking group went and pulled a bunch of pranks all over the village. They had gone so far as to paint the village gates pink with sky blue polka dots. So they were planning on putting itching powder on the ground where they were supposed to be landing so it would get all over them. I'll hurry with the note, then catch a couple of people on my way back, then we can drop them off here and go finish up. Alright. Then Kitetsu hurried away. Back at Hogwarts. Hey guys, I have a feeling we should be sure to land on our feet or at least channel chakra towards the ground. Eh? Why? Sasuke asked. I don't know, I just have a feeling that if we don't we're going to regret it. Naruto answered as Itachi walked in. He put his bag on his shoulder. Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto followed his example. Then they all put a finger each on the small metal cup in front of them and they disappeared from Hogwarts. What if Naruto and Sasuke were in Harry Potter? End here and thanks for watching my video till the end.